man, I now can't follow that,
Yeah.
it's not that I can't follow it, but it's going to take a long time to rebuild a reputation because when I didn't know, when I first started the game,
Right,
getting
now
my
we're
first
live.
10,000, I took 5 missions that were all against this one group.
Well, I mean, and they could also offer things like, let's say, for example, hey, I want to go and land at Ruin Station. Ninetales controls that. Ninetales hates my guts. Or,
Yeah.
on the flip side, hey, I want to go land at Terra. The UEE hates my fucking guts.
Yeah.
Shit, what do I do? And having an option for, hey, if you go and make a donation of some kind through some method, hey, for 5 hours, we won't give you any benefits to having good reputation to have, but we won't go and shoot you on site, and you can use like the bare minimum facilities. You can
You
have
make
something
a
like
contribution, a charitable contribution to our station, and we'll allow you to stay for 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. Or hey, you can stay for like one day, and then after that, services are locked. We're gonna let you take off, and then after that, once you're out of range of our scanners, you're back to being completely hostile.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to see that. And then it's like let's say it's like on the station. They won't go and like transmit your location to like the wider net, so bounty hunters don't even know you're there.
So here's a
like,
question
hey,
that I just thought of while you were saying that.
Hmm.
What about if you're just a passenger on somebody else's ship? How should that play out?
That is a really good question.
I would see it as, hey, we don't have any grievance with you. However, that ship that you were on, because person A is on that ship, we're not letting that ship land. Assuming
I
no
see
deals
that.
are made or anything.
You're talking about guilty by association.
Yeah, I'm talking about like, let's say the guy is
see...
okay, but you're the guy with the wanted status. What happens to the ship captain and the ship when he tries to dock and he's got somebody who's wanted on his ship?
Right now in the game, you get like a misdemeanor offense for transporting someone who has a wanted status, like a crime stat.
Okay.
Right now, that there is no reflection, I don't think, for your reputation for Crusader or whatever. If your reputation is really, really low, they might hate your guts, but I don't think they're going to actively attack you.
So with that, how as a ship captain, how can you identify what somebody's current wanted level is?
Well, right now, wanted level doesn't have anything to do with where you can. Oh, wait, not wanted level. I'm sorry. Reputation has nothing to do with where you can land. In the future, it probably will, based on.
I imagine it will, because they used to have.
Right now you get a minor level for having somebody. So
yeah, I mean, look, they used to have a system in place for that, where if you had a crime stat, you couldn't land.
I think you can.
Yeah, right now we can't. We cannot see another player's crime stat. Well, I might. Okay, so there might be a way to see it if you have accepted and completed the mission to do player bounties. You might be able to check the active bounties and then check from there to see, hey, is person so and so on that list? That being said, I would assume down the line we would be able to pull up like a active bounties list and be able to search for a player name and be like, hey, holy shit, so-and-so is wanted in fucking 15 systems. Like, I'm not going to transport them.
You're going to need something, because there's people who are going to be running Genesis Starliners, and they got to be able to screen their passengers.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting, though.
That, or also, too, they've said, like, we're going to have, like, helmet scanners and probably be able to scan with, like, a Mobi glass and shit. So it'd be like, as they come up, it's like, all right, everyone queue up. And then you go through the 5-minute or, however long it takes. Hey, let me scan you, make sure you don't have any contraband, blah, 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 blah.
But then if they're going to do that, I would like to also see, hacking mechanics that allow you to get around that.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, there's hacking gameplay.
On your suit or your clothing, you've got stuff it'll show someone else's ID.
hacking gameplay's coming in 3.14, or at least tier 0 of it, so there will definitely be that ability to hack into things and kind of give false reports and stuff like that in terms of like legal status and the like. Also, not to mention, we did remember back in like before 3.0, and even it's still, I think it's still the case now. If you have a crime stat, you can't land in certain places. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, depending on your reputation, I'm not going to say you can't land there. They're just, you're not going to get the same treatment when you land there. Like say you pissed off Ninetales, right? Just to use the example, and you go to a Ninetales location, they're probably going to shoot you on sight, being Ninetales and all, and not like you know, that I can totally see that happening. And honestly, I mean, it's not, you know, it's a criminal group anyway, so it wouldn't surprise me. But you know, say if you piss off Hurston, right, and you go to Lorville, odds are they're not going to just open fire on sight and whatever. But you're probably not going to be like, okay, you can't go here, you can't go there. At least they're going to make it a bit more difficult. I don't know. Maybe they'll just post more guards, or honestly, I can't really see them doing that anyways. Just because, again, it's like so they don't like you, so therefore you're not going to be able to enter their city to give them business.
Well, I mean, right now in the reputation system, it is a grind to get reputation.
Yes.
So in the future, if they keep the levels the way it is right now, in the future, if it's possible to get to a reputation level where a particular group won't do business with you, it's because you ground out money for a long time to get there. So that is a personal choice.
No, you can lose reputation easier than you can gain right now. Right now, all you need to do is just fail a bunch of missions, and you're already in like deep hate territory with a entity.
Now, well, that being said, so they did say that as part of like the highest tier stuff, to go and essentially keep incentivizing people to keep playing to maintain that reputation will slowly over time degrade. It'll go down.
Now, and that should work for the hate also. It doesn't matter whether it's likable or...
So them hating you over time, they'll slowly be like, okay, well, it's been a while and you haven't done anything recently to fuck us over. So, okay, we hate you a little less, versus this guy who just fucking blew up one of our transport, you know, that kind of thing.
I'd only want to see it go from like they're actively hostile, i.e. they pull out guns and shoot you, to
like a neutral.
It's been a long time, we're not going to shoot you, but we don't like you, go away.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Go ahead. I was going to say, following along with the idea that your choices matter, the player has the responsibility to make sure that the missions that they're taking aren't going to affect the reputation of a particular group in a negative way. As long as you have the information, then the choices you make should matter.
Yes.
So if you decide that you're going to be lawful, then that's going to piss off all the bad guys, and that's just the way it is.
I agree.
True. And yeah, again,
I'd like to see it to the point where, you know, maybe you piss off the bad guys, and that means that you don't get opportunities. But at the same time, I don't think that unless you're actively hostile towards them, I don't think they should go actively hostile towards you.
Right. I should clarify that if going like bounty hunter, if you're actively bounty hunting, then people that are on the opposite side are going to,
Absolutely. But if you're just doing trading and occasionally do, you know, maybe you do one of the where you know the special events and you help, you know, defend the Stanton system from the
it shouldn't mean that you're suddenly kill on flight with
exactly
whatever.
Hell, I mean, personally I know a few people that want to play like the criminal type of element in the game. You know, they want to, you know, be against the you know, say Hurston or whatever, right? Like, but like, you know, say xenothreat attacks or whatever, and they have to help the UEE. They're gonna help the UEE, or something, but they're still.
Yeah. It's not because they like the UEE, but they see.
They just hate the other guy more. Exactly. You're gonna have a lot of that too. That's the thing. You're gonna have a lot of like, say, it's like, okay, I'm doing illegal stuff. You know, I'm only screwing over the UEE. That's just what I like to do. But then you have this one of these major event things where it's like, okay, help the UEE or help. Say Xenothreat or Ninetales or whatever, and it's like, okay, but I'm going to help UEE because I hate the other guy more, and it's like, okay, but you're helping someone you have bad rep with.
Or do I help the fascists?
or let's say, for example, you've got like Van Duel are going in and invading a system, and it's like, okay, you can go and help the UEE, or you could pretty much just stay out of the event. It's like, I think for some reason I'm going to go and help the UEE. It doesn't mean that I like the UEE any better, but the Van Duel are going to kill me just as much as they're going to kill an actual UEE
Yeah, the
group.
Van Duel don't
So,
care about you. They just want to kill all humans.
yeah. So it's like, and then also too, I would say for events like that, like large scale events, and you're like, "Hi, I'm Captain So and So, bringing in some cargo that's needed," and then you're turning in. At that point, faction rep shouldn't really matter. It's like, okay, unless you're like the number one wanted, absolute, like they have your poster fucking in every single UE office. It shouldn't matter if you have bad rep. That okay, you're hoping right now will for the time being, for the duration of the event, will look the other way and just won't fucking put a cap in you.
I think Elite
And then that
Dangerous
would be a
kind of
way to
does that.
get your reputation up for a group.
Yeah, I think Elite Dangerous does that right now, which is they'll have those special events where it's like, hey, there's a system that's being contested. You can go in for Team A or Team B, and it's got they'll give it a like a 1 week period. Like everyone go in there, pick which side you're going to fight for, and you guys go at it for a week. At the end of the week, whoever's reached the $1 million or traded certain amount or brought in a certain amount of product or whatever wins that system. And during that time, it doesn't matter what your affiliations are during that thing. It's afterwards. If you fought for the faction that won, then you get that bonus to your reputation. But if you fought for the side that lost, there's just nothing happens to your account. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah.
Well, right now in the reputation system, you can see the bonuses or advantages you get for having positive reputation, but I don't think there are any negatives right now, except you just can't accept a mission from that individual.
Correct. Right now,
group.
0 is the lowest. You don't have negative.
Oh, it doesn't go into the red? I thought it did.
Or at least it's not.
It does. It does go into the red because I have negative with I don't.
Leave it to Mando to find out.
Yeah, right. I think North Rock.
But...
Data, remember last night I was telling you how I had I was doing one of those bounty missions, but the targets would not spawn in at all. I just had a marker that was floating in space for like 10 minutes. So those were North Rock missions, and because I kept jumping servers, it would fail the mission, and I'd get negative rep with North Rock. So it does go into the red. So you can get negative reputation.
Right, but right now the only
way to do that is to just constantly fail.
Accept missions from them, or you lose some standing.
Unless you're doing criminal activity, like getting jobs from say like Rudo or Clovis Darnley or Tesha Pacheco, these criminal characters and organizations.
But for them, if you gain reputation with them, then it just goes up, right? It's not like it goes into the red for them. Red is negative reputation, and the green or whatever line is the positive reputation.
Right. And if you have neither, you're mutual.
Yeah, you're just an average Joe. You don't get anything special.
Yep, you're just neutral.
Yeah.
Has there been any word on the is it the Hercules? Is that the one everyone's waiting for nowadays?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the word is that everyone will have access to it in the free fly coming up. That and the tank.
Wait, we're gonna have access to what?
So I'm pretty sure Board Gamer said that you're gonna have access to all of the ships that are currently in the game during the free fly, including the C2 and the Nova tank.
So what I think is going to happen is that we'll have access. So like last year, for the 2 days that a manufacturer is showing their shit, we have access to any of their ships. And then after those 2 days, we then do not have access to those ships anymore. So we would have access to all ships, but not for the whole duration.
I mean, it's like it was in the last 2 free flies with the events.
exactly.
You go in, you see them, you rent them from the show floor, and then you can fly them for like 24 or 48 hours.
Exactly. Yep. And then last day you'll probably have all ships at that point, but again for only like that last day.
Who makes the Tonk?
No.
Tumbrel.
Oh, it's
Same guys to make the Cyclone.
Okay.
So I guess we're talking about the Invictus Fleet Week coming up soon.
Yes.
I'm trying to go through the roadmap right now and find it. Just
I have the tab open here on the screen. So watching can see. Speaking of which, in the chat we have Tilm29, Robert, and Measuring Ones. Hey guys, one of them says, Tilm29 says maybe they need a saboteur class for infiltration. There's no class system in Star Citizen, so.
Yeah, no, you
would just be your equipment.
It's not your traditional RPG in that sense. So.
Equipment and personal skill.
Yeah.
But it's
Personal
like
as
if
in
you want to be
your
a miner
abilities
one
and-
day, a bounty hunter the next day, a salvager the next day, sure.
But I want to
And
be
then
a
a cargo trader the
navigator.
next day.
I'm just gonna be an agitator. Yeah, just be an agitator. It's the best way to go about it. Okay, so.
Right?
Yeah, Invictus. So for anyone who doesn't know, Invictus Launch Week. I said Fleet Week. Didn't I? Launch Week. It's pretty much it's a week where you have in lore the UEE Navy shows up. You know, they show off all the ships and everything. It's a big recruitment push, right, to join the military. But for us in the game, it's kind of like look at all the ships. It's a free fly event.
Look at the shiny shit.
So anyone that doesn't have an account can make an account and play the game for free for a week. And for those who already do have an account, they can fly around ships for free for a week.
Question. I just, for some reason, what you were just saying triggered this thought.
Uh-oh.
I thought I heard a couple days ago that somewhere somebody was asking if CIG would clarify whether or not we were going to be able to walk around inside. I think it's the Idris.
No, so it's a javelin.
Or the Javelin?
Yeah, where the hell is it? It's somewhere.
We will.
You will. Here, explore Navy Javelin. Yeah, so it's we're gonna get a rare pretty much first-hand glimpse at the Javelin. They're gonna do an interior tour, which I'm super excited for. Plus, it's also gonna show off the docking collars and that type of thing.
So is that like us as players able to do it in the PTU, or is that like they're gonna do a show and walk us through it?
No, it's
probably going to be
it's like a tour
run around inside
in the
like
PU.
Okay.
Bronze, yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
They haven't said like where you're going to get to go. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get to tour the whole ship, just a small bit of it, but still, it's awesome.
I was about to say, it's going to be a very guided tour in terms of like what they'll show us, just because again they want our first real experience on this ship to be in Squadron. Same with the Idris. I think, at least I could be wrong here, but I feel they want us to experience the Idris firsthand in Squadron more than the Javelin, because the Idris is literally the ship you start out on in Squadron. Like, that's the ship you're serving on in the very beginning of the game that we know
I just want to say, for all the old-time backers, we better get a tour of the galley, because after watching all those old episodes of, hey, we're working on mechanics that people eat their food and get a tray and get their soda from the soda dispenser in the mess hall.
Remember that whole video they had dedicated to the food?
Yep.
Now, question, didn't they say so when they first introduced the eating and drinking mechanics, it was, hey, if you don't eat and drink, you will die. Did they say they were going to change it around so now it's you get buffs for eating and drinking, but it won't kill you? Or...
And you get nerfs if you don't eat and drink?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard any updates on it, but
I personally would not want that.
Yeah,
I think the system they have in place right now is pretty good. Honestly, I like how it is right now with the eating.
I just don't like its tick rate. Its tick rate is
it's a little fast, but aside from that,
I think they modified it in 3.13. It seems like it's a lot slower now.
Okay, that's good.
But the system they have in place is good. Just slow it down a bit. That's all.
Well, the other thing that I want to see, and it's not just the food and water things, but I want it to be for your oxygen as well, and maybe there's some other items I haven't thought of, but I want it so that if you dock somewhere and you pay like a restock fee specific to your consumables, i.e., separate from like ammo and weapons type stuff, but have a tab that says, "Hey, do you want to restock your consumables?" And if you pay for that, I want the ship to be fully supplied, and I'd like to not have to go through the hunger and water rates while I'm on board. If I leave the ship, absolutely. But while I'm on board, I'd like to be able to use those ship stores to keep myself basically hydrated and fed.
Yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be a problem. I mean, eventually, once more systems come online, then
Yeah,
you can have to worry about things like the stored oxygen in the ship and probably like stored water and food. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it customizable, like what kind of stocks you can store normally. And it would be nice to have like an auto restock button, assuming that the station you dock in has the materials you want.
right. Absolutely. But yeah, I kind of I like the idea of the food and water mechanics for like, hey, so you can't go running around out on the moon surface forever, or go EVA forever. But at the same time, it'd be nice if it's just a once a session occurrence type of thing for somebody who's playing instead of every 45 minutes going, oh man, I've
Yeah,
lost
no, I
50%,
agree with that because, as I said, the system they have in place is good. They just need to slow it down.
I
Yeah.
would be a fan of them making it more realistic in terms of actual in-game time. So, I don't need to eat every
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Yep.
Stretch it out to like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, something
5 hours.
more in line with reality.
Yeah.
Man, what are you, a fat pig? No, just kidding.
Follow me on Tuesdays.
Oh man, well that'd be the next step. Is if you're gonna make me eat every 3 hours, then let's see some fat boys in spacesuits.
Well, the reason I say 3 hours because not
Yeah.
everybody's going to have time to throw 6 hours into a
Yep.
game cycle.
That's true. Yeah, like your normal
with
guy is not going to be playing for 6 hours at a time. So
You want to put it in there so it's a game feature that you get to experience, but you don't want it to be overwhelming where you have to do it. It's more of a burden. You want it to be something that you have to think about, but not something that you have to obsess on.
Yeah. I would be okay with doing actual game time. So yeah, like you eat, and that gives you 6 hours of actual game time. Even if you log out, 10 minutes later, when you log back in, you've still got 50
Yeah.
minutes.
how the
left
hell did we
on it.
get to the survival mechanics of the game from Invictus?
I don't know.
Don't ask
I think
questions.
because I mentioned the mess decks.
Oh yeah.
But anywho,
Yeah, back to Invictus though. They have the schedule here where they're saying the free fly starts May 22nd and ends June 3rd. And we got the schedule here with all the ships. Like what companies will be showcased on what days. And it's taking place on Microtech this year, so hopefully I can actually go there without my.
Well, that's the same event center that they used for.
Yeah, it's going to be the
last,
same one for IAE last year.
Yeah.
Hopefully my game doesn't crash every time I enter Microtech though, because it's not Microtech, but every time, ever since 3.12.1, whenever I go inside New Babbage, my game just crashes. It freezes for a while and then crashes. Desktop. Hopefully that's not the case this year, but I'm not holding my breath. Although if the images are anything to go by, it looks like they're doing the Javelin tour, and if I had to guess, well, that looks like what's the name of the station? Jericho, right?
Oh yeah, the one that's out there by
Yeah.
the
The Navy
yes,
yard.
it is Jericho.
Yeah, so
And
it looks like.
interestingly enough, it's in the PU right now. You can go to it. You just can't.
Oh yeah, Jericho. Yeah, it's been there for the last like 2 or 3
Well,
patches.
but I mean, it has a quantum jump marker now. Whereas before you had to, didn't you have to accept the mission to be able to get there?
No, 3.12.1 added a jump marker regardless of.
Oh, okay.
It was 3.12 when the station was added that it didn't have a marker.
Yeah,
12.0 didn't have a
the
marker.
mission was added in 12.1.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm excited for the Javelin tour. That's for sure. It's probably, at least to me, that's probably gonna be the highlight. That and the free fly itself.
I was just looking at what's their release view of the roadmap for vehicles and ships. I'm really unimpressed. I mean, basically, you got the Hercules, and then 314 is just the constellation Taurus, and then you've got a Ares starfighter in 315, and then 316 doesn't even have any. It just says shield emitters.
That's all you care about, those ships?
It's probably so far out they don't have a clear understanding internally of what's going to make the cut.
Besides, I think I speak for everyone when I say, give us gameplay features. We have enough ships.
Never.
True, but I would like to see the old ships that are still on back order, like, filling in. I think people who've purchased
like some of the
them
original
should
concepts,
definitely
like
get them.
the BMM and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, here's something that I thought about, which is, they say that one of the reasons they're not updating old ships is because they want to, they build new ships so that they can learn how to do things, better, both, as far as like the mechanic wise, but ergonomics and all that kind of stuff, and less graphic intensive. But to me, that kind of doesn't make sense, because if you keep doing that, that's just more ships that you're going to have to fix in the long term. Whereas if you go back now,
as they call it,
they
call it tech debt. So that's essentially when you have to do something eventually, and you're like, okay, and it just gets added on, and eventually you have to pay that debt.
Yeah. I think
well, that's another reason why I say no more ships. We got enough ships. We have how many ships in the game at the moment?
Over 100.
That's more than enough at the moment. We need gameplay features and core mechanics that were promised years ago that aren't.
I mean, they're realistically speaking, they're not. They are never at any point going to stop making.
No, they're not going to stop. Yeah. And I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying, stop focusing on delivering new ships into the game, at least for the moment. Like for instance, okay, you mentioned we're only getting the Hercules and the Taurus and shield emitters. Fine. I don't care if we're only getting 2 ships this year. That's not what I'm here for.
I don't think it's fair to say that they're focusing just on ships. They have over 650 employees now, and they're broken up into different teams. So it's more likely you have a certain team that's working on this particular project.
True.
And when it gets close to being done, then that's when it gets added. It doesn't have anything really to do with focus. I think their focus is mostly probably on getting Squadron 42 finished so they can get it released.
I hope so.
Yeah. I think that's probably about 70% of their overall focus is to get 42 out, because without 42, I think in their eyes, without 42, the PU will never be successful. They think that they need Squadron 42 to bring people in for the PU, which I disagree with. But
even if that is the case, which I don't think it is, I think that at least they need Squadron out because that's their priority right now. And as a studio, they need once that's done, they can then fully focus on the PU instead of Squadron.
Well, I also think. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. It's your turn.
No, go for it.
Oh God.
I was just going to say it also gives them a focus. Before Squadron 42 with the PU development, it was kind of a mess. They didn't really have a clear path that they were trying to follow. At least with Squadron 42, it's been narrowed down. They know exactly what they need to get that part of the game finished. So after that, I really think it's helped them structure their company and get their priorities straight.
Also, we got to remember a lot of mechanics are developed for pretty much everything's developed for Squadron first and then put into the PU. So they need to, yeah, exactly. They need to get Squadron out. So
really, I would say a lot of the ships and the content that you're seeing coming out is coming out specifically because it's required for something in Squadron 42.
Was Squadron 42. and that's coming from Chris Roberts, who basically wanted to continue his, his Wing Commander series. So that's his background is, these single player games. So I think his focus has always been 42, but when he saw what people wanted, that people wanted a PU, they want a sandbox, he's like, yeah, let's do that because that'll help me do 42. And I think he's still focused that way. The only reason I'm saying I said that I don't think that 42 is as important as they're saying it is I don't think they realize that there's a large core group out there who just wants a PU. They don't even care about 42. And I'm not saying that it's a bigger group or a smaller group than the 42 group, but I think there's a big enough of a group that the PU could stand on its own without 42 to draw people in.
Well, you're right that he probably is. He wants Squadron 42 to get done, and to that extent, it's his company. It
Yeah.
was his vision to make this game, so he really has to say whether or not
True.
he wants to make 42 or not. That's just the way companies work. If you don't like it, don't give them your money.
Yep. It's true. I just personally, going back to the ship thing, I would like to see them start working that tech debt off of going back to some of those original platforms and going, okay, how do we bring these up to standard? What our current standards are now.
Look at for example the Constellation. I mean, just I know COG have said they're not planning a rework on it at this time, but just I don't say the cockpit itself more or less seems fine in my opinion. The cargo bay and the room in the back seems fine, but the living quarters horrendous.
Yeah,
you're supposed to have 4 people. You've got 4 beds. You're supposed to have 4 crew members. But in terms of space, you've got 4 itty bitty tiny lockers that won't be able to store anything more than like a set of like regular clothes, let alone armor. You've got 4 single weapon racks that are just rifles. They don't even have the pistol or other things like the modern weapon racks do. There's no place for like food or drink of any kind. You've got a fold down table and a porta shitter, and that's it. Like, I mean, there's the Drake equivalent, the Corsair, has individual rooms for the crew, as well as like a mess room and shit. It's like when Drake is doing better at amenities than you, that's bad.
Well, that kind of highlights the reason why I don't think they should start working on ship tech debt yet, because as they keep adding features like food and drink, you're going to have to consider that into when you go back to the ship. So until you figure out exactly the stuff that you're going to need in that ship, if you go back and work on things now, then chances are you're probably going to have to go back and work on them again, which just increases the amount of time and work. So I
when
am
do you
for
finally
them.
just make the call though? Because
Well,
if you follow
that's
that logic, you're never going to go back because you're always going to be upgrading.
yeah. At some point, there's going to have to be a
You gotta draw a
line
line.
where they get what they have in the game what they want, and since we're not part of the company, I think they probably have a reasonable idea where that is, but we clearly have no.
True.
But the
And
other
that
thing
You
being
could
said, too,
start
like
they
with
might be
a
working
smaller
on,
ship too.
that they have the power system delivery that they're working on, so that definitely needs to get done because they're going to have to
That's
go
true.
across every single ship to get that in the game.
Yeah, the whole piping system does
Yeah.
need to be implemented for them to be able to know what they're doing. So yeah, you got a point there.
And then they still need to put in the atmospheric room system to all the ships and have that functioning properly.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, I heard you can keep all the doors open on the MSR. How's that doing in 313?
Yes, that is currently working. Last I checked with this patch. So
Well, that's another
nice.
thing. Door locking for all the ships.
Yep.
I also heard the MSR now has a bug that if you leave the ramp down for any length of time, it blows your ship up.
I have not heard this one, but
I haven't either.
I mean,
Something
I
about
have.
the ramp starts interacting with the ground, and it like just kind of does damage over time. And so if you keep the ramp down and like run into an outpost, by the time you come out, your ship may have been blown up.
Huh. Interesting.
I think what's his name? The pirate show guy. He did an episode last week about it. If you want to watch somebody talk about it.
I wouldn't be surprised. I had an interaction with the Carrack where I put the ramp down and it clipped into the planet or into the ground. And as soon as I got out of the pilot's seat, it flipped the whole ship upside.
Yeah.
Nice. Power of the planet.
Yep.
Which
Yeah, he
hopefully then when we
Minion
get
Soldier. That's who I was thinking of.
hopefully end of this year, they have slated an item that will allow for ramps and such to stop when they detect the ground and not jack the ship up like that. So hopefully once that's implemented, that'll fix that as well.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah, I
be really
remember them
nice.
talking about that a while ago, and I thought that had been implemented, but apparently not. So I'm looking
One
forward
thing
to
I
that.
hope they do too, to kind of couple with that. So ramps and such, that's good, but I hope they make it so that for ships that have a elevator that goes down, those elevators should be able to go, I would say, up to like a full length. So say an extra, up to maximum of like an extra 6 feet or so below where the landing gear is. So that way, if you're landed and you've got like a little valley, a little depression right where the elevator is, you aren't, oh well, this is a great landing spot, except I'm 2 or 3 feet above the ground right now. Have it go, hey, I'm not detecting the ground yet. Okay, well we've still got this extra wiggle room to keep going. Now, obviously, there's only so far you can go. It shouldn't just keep going and going and going. But like I said, an extra like 6 feet or so to be able to push that until it's like, oh, there's the ground. Okay, we're good.
I'd
So
also
there you
like
go.
to see that combined with the landing gear having like an automated sensor system that tries to at least compensate for that kind of, for that uneven ground
Yeah.
and try and
So
keep
like
your
an
ship
auto
level.
leveler.
Yeah. One extends a little bit further, just to give you some semblance of maintaining level.
Yep. Well, and also too that it would especially help for things like if I'm pushing a trolley onto it, or if I'm loading or offloading vehicles, etc.
Exactly.
Where it's like, yeah, you really need to have that relatively smooth surface there.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I think this is the tech year though. I think we're getting all the behind the scene or behind the scenes systems starting to be the main focus. And I think
Yeah,
we've been
because they need
used
to
to the
build off
past
of
few
that.
years,
Yeah.
oh, here's a new planet, here's a new moon, here's a ship, and now I think we're all kind of going.
We got the
"Oh,
playground. Now we need the toys.
Yeah.
But they're working on a
And it
drainage
does look
system
like
for the sandbox.
And it does look like, at least for this year, that they really are starting to get some of that larger tech that we've been waiting for. Ship to station docking, the new shield.
We already have the Merlin and Archimedes docking for the constellation Andromeda, Aquila, and Phoenix. So.
Speaking of which, how are the shields?
Good. I haven't really done much combat, but from
they're all right.
seen,
It depends on your ship. I
they
guess.
they look better. Yeah, it depends ship to ship, but
It's the same
they
as
look
before.
better, and I haven't heard of any shield hole issues yet.
Has anyone noticed, like if you lose a part, the shield is supposed to reshape to the contour?
I haven't because I normally don't last that long to like. Well, no, because like this shield, the only ships I've really been doing combat in are the Arrow and the Carrack, so I haven't really lost any parts in either ship.
Sounds like somebody just needs to go ram a station with a cuddy for a minute, break off the front arms, and let us know what it looks like.
Yeah, right.
It wouldn't be that hard to test.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
There is an issue with the PU
just
right now.
turn off the
that
shields,
things-
shoot off the winglets, and then turn the shields back on and see how it looks.
Well, no, supposedly they're supposed to reform like on the go. Like as you lose the part, the shield sensor grid just goes, "Oh, that part's not there. Well, fill in that gap."
Right, it's based on the geometry of the ship and
Right.
not just a mesh.
It's not a bubble like it used to be.
I will say, I was personally, shield holes aside, I was fine with the bubbles, but the new tech does look a lot nicer.
Yeah.
And it's a lot less intrusive when you're getting shot in the cockpit.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's definitely something that needed working. I just like the idea of it being a more kind of fluid system in the sense that it's not just a set ball around you. That it actually
It's also
has
it's also
interaction.
an impressive piece of technology in terms of game design.
Yeah,
Here's this real time on the fly adaptive tech.
exactly. So another rumor that I heard last week was that we may be getting more than one system. That we might be getting Pyro and then the one that's next to it. I think
Nyx.
Nyx
Nyx.
is what I heard.
They're gonna drop.
I just wasn't sure of what the.
That would
name
make
was.
sense because Pyro,
Is
obviously,
Nyx
they
the-
said is the next system, and Nyx is where Delamar and Levski
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
located. so.
and that's just the main LZ there, right? So it's like beyond
Yep.
that, it's all just kind of abandoned, empty, or not empty, but it's,
Yeah, they're
it's
both
just,
unclaimed systems. So
yeah. So
Which would be a good gameplay mechanic for people to test out. Like, so you got Stanton, which is your quote unquote lawful system. Then you'd have Pyro as your unlawful, and then you'd have
which probably
Nyx,
means
which
if
is
you want to do
nothing.
org events like what all the kind of combat events that we've been planning, we're probably gonna have to go to the Pyro or Nyx system in order to actually do them without having to worry about shutting down a comm array or going to this specific location or whatever. So we don't have to really worry about it because there's no who's gonna care.
yeah,
What crime stat?
Eventually, it becomes your jump town.
Yeah.
It's a whole system that's like jump town. Hey, go in there, find your mining.
Well, no, because
resources
Jumptown
for
would
the
still be
lawfuls.
under comlink range, which means that if you kill someone there, you get a crime stat. Assuming they
No,
don't
but
have a
if you
crime
put
stat.
it into the Nyx system, what I'm saying is just make the Nyx system like Jumptown. In other words, that's the focus where people go because that's where the most money can be made. And then,
But there's the
you
risk
let-
of someone can get shot down and all that,
Absolutely.
and because
Yeah,
there's no
like-
comlink range, you don't get a crime stat exactly, and
Yeah, so you got all the unlawfuls and Pyro who want to make money, and they go, hey, there's tons of valuable mining going on in Nyx and being run back to Stanton, so let's go there. And it's like a good meeting point for both sides to interact. And if you don't want to be involved in that gameplay, then you don't go there.
Yeah, just make it a completely lawless system. There is no law either way. No comm links.
Yep. Like I said, they also help with org events, just because again, whenever say if right now if you were to do an org event, say on Hurston, right, you want to do the savanna biome, you want to have the trees and the tall grass and all that for a cool Arma style AOE. You can't unless you shut down the comm array, and I've had it I was doing an event on Hurston with the Yacht Club, and they had got security guys watching over the comm array in case someone tried to turn it back on, which they constantly had someone trying to do.
Yep.
Which is I mean, it probably doesn't help that again it's a really popular group, so they're probably getting stream sniped and whatnot. But
I'll BRB.
well, they were also getting sniped by me because the AOE itself was it was just two groups going at it on the ground. I managed to find a nice sniper nest. But anyway, the whole point is you have to turn off the comm array, which in and of itself gives you a crime stat when you do it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of whereas here you don't have to go through all this stuff just to set up an org event so that you and your friends can have a good time.
You need that null sec space.
Yeah.
just remember the magic words: What could possibly go wrong?
Hold my beer.
Pretty much. But yeah, so Callsign, you haven't played 3.13 yet.
I have not. I was actually going to. I kind of was getting interested in it, and then, like the day after it dropped, I started kind of, paying attention to what people were saying, and basically all
The
I've been
hot
hearing
fix
is
that came
negative.
out this few days later it helped a lot, at least for me.
Yeah,
Because I was having that first
uh,
initial drop was horrible.
but I'm
But
still
I've been
hearing
having
that
a lot of
there's some
fun.
pretty major potential bugs. Like, was one of them is like logging out of the logging out of the PU could potentially cause you to have to do a character reset. I was like,
No,
that's
so logging out of your shipbed. Logging out of a shipbed can you'll have to do a character reset.
Nice.
okay, but still, I mean, that's pretty major.
Yeah. No, it is, especially as someone who, like, I love logging out of the ship. Like, that's what I do a lot of the time, especially with my Cutlass. I'll just fly around. So it's like, okay, I don't need to fly to a station. Just log out of the bed, and I'll log back in here or at the sun, which is most often the case. But I'm still in space, ready to just go about wherever I need to go. But now
I
you can't do
basically
that.
just looked at the patch notes, and I noticed that there was at least 3 different scenarios that mentioned having to do a character reset, and they're all pretty like generic. And I was like, "That's
What was the other?
too many
What were the
for me
other
to wanna
two?
play." Hold on, let me do some research to bring it back up. This was when I was reading through it, kind of like, "Am I going to load this system or not?" And that's when I was like, "Wow, I don't know if I want to actually take my character in there and have to do a reset." Give me a minute here.
Well, the good news is that a reset doesn't reset your money and chips.
Yeah, it
Just
resets it to a previous save.
Previous stable.
But you still got to contact them and go through the.
It's pretty much okay. So you have to
time.
wait 12 minutes. Big deal. But yeah, no, it is
Don't
still
you
annoying.
have to
for
actually
sure.
wait for a response and then it takes 10?
No. It
No,
just
you can do your account.
That's why you can do it from the website now. You don't have to wait
Okay.
for them to do anything.
Well, that's good.
So you just do it. You have to wait about 15 minutes for the process to go through, and then after that, you're good. You can log back in and go about your
There
life.
is, however, a 24-hour cooldown from when you
between
do it,
times you can do it.
Yeah.
So you can't just do it again right after.
Yeah, so if I were to reset right now, it being essentially just after midnight on Sunday, I would have to wait till just after midnight on Monday before I could reset again.
So it sounds like it's gotten better as far as what a character reset means, but it's still
by far
a process you got to go through. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, one thing too, I heard with the new patch, the 0.1 patch, they have made it so for PvE bounties, you can no longer quantum into their location. You still get a marker for it, but you have to fly over their slope.
It's an interesting change.
Yeah. They're saying it's to bring it more in line with the PvP bounties, how those are currently, because you can't just quantum to their location.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but at the same point, it definitely will be hurting bounty hunters.
As their mechanics progress, then the way we interact with missions is going to change. So we'll just have to sit back and let it happen, and then give feedback of what we like and don't like.
Yep.
I mean, assuming PvE bounties function the way PvP bounties will in the future, then you're still going to have to track them down the same way you would have played.
Yes.
Oh, so what's this one about client crash if you have somebody else on your bridge? Anyone experienced that one?
I don't think
I never had that. I do know that you can't quantum travel if you have someone right next to you on the bridge.
Yeah, that one me and Cam experienced the other day.
All 3 of us experienced, and together too.
But the workaround is pretty easy. Just tell him.
Yeah, just have the guy walk out. Sit in the corner and like it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this is for Arena Commander apparently.
Oh. That's something I've been trying to watch.
No longer.
Connie despawns if it flies away from whatever it docked with.
The Connie will despawn if you fly too far away from it with the parasite craft.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's saying 30 kilometers.
Yeah, I experienced that one too. It's a feels bad moment.
Wait, I'm coming to get. Never mind.
That means you're stuck with no quantum drive in space.
Oh, I saw a show last week. Somebody tried to fly to the center, to the sun of Stanton.
Oh, I've done that several times in the past. You can't really get to the sun.
Yeah, well, what he showed was that because he's an actual like astrophysicist.
Okay.
And he figured out a way to do it where they were able to figure out like the actual what the actual mileage distance is supposed to be for the center of the system and where the sun is. And it turns out that the big giant glowing ball that you see like outside your cockpit isn't the actual center of the system. Apparently it's like hundreds, or I should say like thousands of kilometers off.
Yeah, well,
I think the sun is probably a placeholder right now, the same as Crusader is.
Yeah.
Especially considering how they're going to have different stellar bodies. Yeah, we're definitely going to have more like in-depth, realistic-looking suns, not just a ball of light. Yeah. That's what it is right now. It's a ball of light.
Yeah.
But I would like to see them implement like real sun mechanics for the exploration gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, well, they have very different. Like if you look on the star map, one of them is like they have like pulsating stars and stuff like that. And I'm assuming they're gonna have stars that have like really strong solar winds. So it should be really interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to like go in there with what is that, like the Endeavor was supposed to have a science package that would let you like do studies of suns.
Right.
I'd like to be able to do that, and that maybe that's a way of making money. Like you take a certain records, you record information for a certain amount of time using a certain telescope, and then you can sell that info. I don't know. That was actually one of the original things they sold the Terrapin as. It was going to be able to go.
We're going to be here for hours if you bring up the Terrapin.
Sorry?
We're going to be here for hours if you bring up the Terrapin.
All I'm going to say is I really wish they would take the whole rip off the scanner and throw in like a small cargo grid, like just 2 to 4 SU, put like a single lowest tier med bed in there. It could have so much versatility if they treated it something more akin to like the Cutlass with its variants there. But instead, nope, just a scanner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but cargo's going to change in the future, so you don't have to have it in a cargo grid. So we don't know whether.
Yeah, but even still, like I would want to have an actual cargo grid that would have the cargo secure locked on there and shit, not where it's like the ship bounces and whoops, there goes all your shit.
I personally would like to see them go away from an actual cargo grid per se, as in like dedicated floor space for cargo grid. I would like to see them implement like netting, like webbing that you can actually put up. So essentially, any wall kit that's open and has
pretty much what's already inside a lot of cargo.
Yeah, we already have that. Just the question would be, will it be functional in any way, or is it just visual? There's the question.
The reason it's a grid is a technical thing. The game has to know where the cargo can be placed.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a grid, then you're not going to be able to have cargo get transferred through the system.
Because the game doesn't know where it is.
I would prefer that they just made all open space cargoable.
That'd be nice,
sure
but
that
it's not feasible.
they're working on a way to allow players to stack your own cargo. So
that'd be cool.
The way cargo grids function right now is not the way it's going to be in the future. They are going to make some changes, and in one of the videos, I think Todd Pappy talked a little bit about it, but I don't remember all the specifics of what he said.
Yeah. I just
That'd be
want it
pretty
to be
cool.
kind of like you look at the International Space Station and, you know, there's a webbing net that's holding something up to the ceiling, you know?
Inside the
and there's a
Valkyrie,
bunch of
they have
boxes
that.
that are
Yeah.
stuffed in there. Like
There
if
is
it-
no, go ahead, finish up.
I'm just saying, like, if there's an open, I'm not saying, you know, clutter up the inside of your ship and, you know, every single open surface has it. But no, I'm just saying, if there's maybe like a 3 foot by 3 foot square of open space, let me be able to use make that into a cargo grid capable square that I can attach, you know, a SKU to. And for the for the visual effects, just have it, you know, have a little net put over the box, but just have open space be available as cargo placeable.
Well,
so that I
right
don't
now,
just have these big, you know, flat open spaces like the back of the MSR, but I can't put anything in the you know, in the berthing compartment.
right now you can put your little boxes wherever you want on any ship, and they'll stay there.
Well, little boxes, yes.
Right, but okay, so what about like when you go? Have you tried that going into atmosphere? If you turn upside down, does your box just stay right there?
It's all in the same
Right
grid
now, the ships have their own individual gravity grid. I kind of hope they do change that more like Space Engineers, where if you go into a planet that has its own gravity, then your internal gravity gets negated to some extent. I think that's more realistic, and I think it could add more gameplay because
I
wouldn't be doing.
don't know that they would do that, but it definitely will be that gravity generators will be a thing, and you can toggle those off, and then at that point, any natural gravity would take over. Now that being said, it would be interesting if it's like, hey, here is a planet that has, you know, 2 times normal gravity. So, you know, everyone's like walking like real slow there unless you have some kind of like an exosuit. And it's like, hey, if you're flying your ship and you're upside down and you have a non-secure shit, whoosh, well, now it's falling to the ceiling at a rate of 1 gravity because you've got your 1 gravity on the ship going down. You know, so let's say if you were like upside down, for example.
The way they have the system set up right now is completely unrealistic because even if in your ship you had gravity pulling, say, to the floor, if you rotated 90 degrees, you would now have a force pulling you towards the floor and pulling you towards the 90-degree angle. So,
well,
it's all artificial right now anyway.
Yeah, yes and no. It would depend. It depends entirely on how they say their artificial gravity systems work. Because one style would just be that you just have artificial gravity pulling you down to the notional floor at a rate of 1 standard Earth gravity. And then at that point, yes, any other gravity in the area, if you rotate your ship 90 degrees up to take off with your engines toward the bottom, everything else would go and slide down to the back of the ship there because of that. That being said, that's one way. The other way one other way they could do it is to say, hey, the gravity gets generated around the ship in a bubble. Anything outside this gravity bubble does not affect the ship itself. So it would only be inside the bubble. You have 1 standard gravity. Only when you walk off of the ship, then the gravity in the area or lack thereof takes over. So it would just depend how they argue their technology for it works.
Well, for them, it's probably more a technical issue. Like I hate that idea. It's like completely unrealistic, and it really irritates me.
You
but
could,
from a
it's
gameplay
unrealistic
perspective,
to our
it's
current
probably
technology. But if they say, hey, here's how all technology works, then it is realistic to them. Okay.
I just want to be able to put things in, unused space.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would
i.e.
definitely be nice.
we
And
don't
also
really know
too,
how ship storage is going to function yet. Anyway, they could
Yeah.
change things or add compartments. We don't really know.
well, one thing too that I dislike with how they have the current setup for like cargo and stuff is if you want to be a smuggler, and if someone physically inspects your ship, it's like, oh, everyone knows about the Mercury Star Runner's little tunnels and its little cargo space off to the right as soon as you walk in. Or everyone knows that in the Carrack, you've got the 3 cargo bays and that's it. And then you've got like the hangar, so you could have something on the Pisces. It's like everyone just knows that, and because you can't modify ships, or at least even if once modules are in, it's like, okay, but there's only bespoke modules. You can't customize ships and be like, there's a smuggler's hidey hole here or there or wherever else. That means as soon as someone walks on your ship, they know exactly where to look for any contraband.
So
Which
I had an idea on this, which is probably not technically feasible, but it would be way more entertaining and functional. Just have the ship have like 100 different places available that could be hidden in, and then the player gets to choose like 6 or 10 of those places.
I
So
was
when
thinking
someone
that. I was
comes
like,
on your
the only way you can do it is to hide it in plain sight, but make it so tedious to check every single one. So it's like, yeah, you could spend an hour checking every single location
after you
but,
memorize where all those locations could be.
Oh, exactly. No, I do like that idea. But yeah, in terms of a technical aspect of it, yeah, it's probably not too feasible.
Yeah. That's a.
But we'll have to see how they.
That's a
Now
lot of work.
that being said, too, in terms of like salvage, or I'm sorry, not salvage, smuggling, one potential option for it too would be, hey, I want to smuggle X amount of Widow, for example, and it would go, okay, we'll tell you what, assuming you don't just want to run with just straight up Widow just sitting in a cargo grid, so any asshole who comes by and scans you will go, oh shit, you've got fucking 100 SCU of Widow in there. You can instead go and have, hey, here is a standard SCU crate. Inside this crate, it holds, let's say, 0.8 SCU. And then around that 0.8 SCU are reflectors or stealth technology or whatever the fuck that will then go and show it as being some regular generic material here. And so then you are hiding it in plain sight. Now, a detailed scan would go, hey, these readings don't match up, or the mass doesn't add up. They could see, hey, it's being foxed, but that's only if they get really detailed, really in depth, and taking a while to do that. Otherwise, on a regular scan, it just pops up as whatever and not your contraband. The trade-off being that, hey, I've got 6 SCU, but I can only hold 5 SCU worth of actual cargo, with the stealth technology around the cargo taking up that extra room.
So I got an idea to add to that. Have not customizable, but have it so that the player, you as a player, can actually go and buy smuggling SKU boxes. In other words, you can buy a 1 SKU box that's meant specifically for smuggling, and you can fill it with any 2 things that you want. In other words, basically what you're talking about. It has an inner core that you can fill with your contraband, and then it has an outer core that you can fill that's only like it's basically just a casing around it of whatever that substance is that you want to be your quote unquote commercial product. And basically, if you are a dedicated smuggler, then you go and you buy 50 of these boxes, and you just have a few of them on your ship. And whenever you need to, you pick up whatever your contraband is, and then you say, oh yeah, today I'm going to be hauling Bexolite, and so it shows to everyone else that you've got 10 boxes of Bexolite, and that's all it is, unless they physically go look at it and open the box up, in which case then they have that, then they can see like, oh, hey, this isn't Bexolite.
Maybe, but
that would make
that
it,
idea would result in even less cargo, which might be the trade-off that, hey, this stuff is nearly impenetrable to scanners, but you can only hold, for example, one SCU space, you can only hold half an SCU of actual smuggled cargo.
Yeah.
The other worry I
or
might
make
have
it
with
like
that,
75%. It can
Yeah,
hold
whatever.
75% smuggled, 25% of inert whatever you put in. But yeah, that's the limitation. But you can go and buy more boxes if you have the cargo space.
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
trade-off.
Yeah, but the other
safety for size, basically.
But the other issue might be with that assuming, and again, it would depend how you're going to do it, but it's like, let's say if I have, in this crate, I've got 0.2 SCU of Laranite, and then I've got 0.8 SCU of Widow, and the Laranite is the legit cargo to Fox the scanners. Now they could, of course, just say, well, hey, it just looks like it's all Laranite or whatever else. But if they look at the mass, they go, hey, wait a minute, this Laranite mass does not match up with what one SEO Laranite. And again, that could be part of the trade-off too, in that, hey, if they know their shit with their scanner, they can immediately go, hey, whoa, these numbers don't add up here. But it would just
maybe you have a way of weighting the box or something like that. I'm just saying, like, it would give you an interesting mechanic in the sense that as a smuggler, you could actually have some dedicated tool mechanics, gameplay mechanic items that are specific to your specialty that you drag around with you, but they enable you to do these things that normal Joe Schmo can't do without running that higher risk like Data Machine was talking about. Just an idea.
You still there, Mando?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just messing around to start map as you guys were talking.
You're being unnaturally quiet. I was just curious.
I'd like to see with this hacking that's supposedly coming. I'd like to see them do something with the Herald. I'd like to see an update on the Herald. I'm
really interested in seeing the mini game hacking system they put in. I hope it's good and in-depth.
Hopefully it's not just the BioShock one that's constantly reused throughout many different games. I'm sure you guys know the type. It's like you have to. It's essentially you have a flow of something, and you have to keep it going to the thing that you go to. It's just such a. It's fun. Like, what?
You guys didn't hear what the hacking game is going to be? The way it's going to work is you start the hack, and you're essentially using an AI because these systems are really advanced. I say AI, but essentially you're using an automated program, and all you're doing is you're adjusting the voltage going into the system at different points, and so it goes up. And then you have to hold it in the good voltage meter, and if you know what I'm talking about, it's just the mining UI all over again. I hope not.
I was going to say, if you're talking about having mining be the same thing as hacking, I'm going to be a mad person.
That was the joke.
But the interface will be different colors.
Exactly. Instead of green, it's going to be blue, and instead of red, it's going to be orange. Ooh.
Instead of a bar graph going up and down, it's going to be one of those spinning like synthesizers, where like each quadrant of the pie like grows and shrinks, but it keeps spinning. It'll look really cool.
Yeah, but I seriously doubt they're going to go.
I really hope it's something new.
I doubt they're going to go as in depth as I would like it to be, like where you actually have to type in commands. But I really hope they don't go real simple.
Because most people would not know what a command is.
Yeah, but I mean, you learn, right? It's in the game. It should be easy to.
I'm American. I don't have to learn shit. I don't want to. Damn it.
It should be
can't
easy
tell me
to
what I
learn, but
have to
hard to
do.
master.
Look at
That's
our
the way I
education
want it
system. Do
to
we
function.
learn? Sorry.
Hey, no, it's true.
I'm actually
to,
curious at, where they go with hacking, because I want to see how that segues into like emissions interceptions, because I think those go kind of hand in hand.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the data running and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like, sitting off off a an asteroid somewhere, and it's a high traffic corridor, and you start like picking data off of ships as they go by. Like, how are the game mechanics going to be in that, in intercepting those signals and then hacking those signals to be able to know what info you got?
Yeah, there's so many questions I have in
Yeah.
terms of that, because I mean, are they going to go with a more realistic route where the ships are broadcasting information to like a comm system, and is that like laser,
Yep.
or is it going to be a
It
wide
has to be.
broadcast?
It can't be broadcast, because when you
Yeah,
get
that's
into
true.
you get into ranges of between hell, just between a planet and a moon, that's like 4 hours of radio
Right.
broadcast time.
So it's more
You know.
likely they're going to use like some kind of quantum communication magic, which I'm okay with, because
Well, no,
other
they've said specifically, in order to go between systems, you're going to have to go with hard code message. Like
really.
there's going to be an AI
Yep, you have to have a
business.
script that goes from one
Yep.
side to the other and then retransmits the data.
Yep.
So they
Now,
are
that
using the
being
laser.
said, that being said, that also would offer a pretty decent base level mining or gameplay loop for any data miners, because you can just go, hey, so and so station, give me your latest dump, put it on my computers, travel over, go to another station, or
Yep.
go to a comm buoy, upload data, boom, there I go.
Well, that's what they sold the Herald as. Like they said, that's what you're going to do. That's one of the things you're going to do with a Herald, is you basically run data between systems, because there is no other way of transferring them. And Chris Roberts himself came out and said, yeah, no, there's not going to be any magic, communication between systems. It's going to have to
No
be.
Ansibles.
There's not going to be any
Yeah.
Star Trek subspace or whatever. Yeah.
Nope. But in system, I can see them using the laser beam technology.
Right, because you can point a laser from one planet to the other, no problem.
Yeah, from from Crusader
I was
to
just saying.
Hurston.
I was just saying in system, not like into
Oh,
the
okay,
system. Because
gotcha.
yeah, I agree with you. But in system, even using light transmission, you're talking about minutes to hours, maybe
Yeah.
even days, depending on how far out you are. So I could totally see them using some kind of quantum magic, whatever they want to use.
But then how do we
So it's
intercept that?
instantaneous. Well, that is the question you have to ask. Is it just going to be, well, they say this is how the system works because
Yeah.
we have these arbitrary rules, or are they going to make it more like you have like a wide beam or a narrow beam, or just like an area directional broadcast? And if you don't have the right encryption or whatever they decide to use for security, then you can't access it.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that opens a lot of different doors that need answers.
Because really, you can't, even if they use like laser communication, unless you were right in the center, which is very unlikely considering how big space is, you would never even notice the transmission happening.
True. Well, you'd have to have computer systems that are calculating, okay, so from this buoy to this buoy is exactly this line. Okay, I need to go stick my Herald right in the center of that line just
Yeah,
to be able to get that one transmission.
if they do something like tie all the comm systems together, which I really hope they do, then that would make more sense, because maybe you could hack into one comm system and then gain access to another that this target or ship or whatever is connected to, and then use
Yeah.
a man in the middle kind of attack. I don't know. Yeah, I could talk about that for hours, the way I would like it to work, but
Yeah. I could
But
too.
bear in mind, they want people who have absolutely zero experience in any way, shape, or form with these systems to do it. So you can't just be like, hey, go and type commands in here. Fuck no. They're going to be like, I don't know what to do with this. Even if you give them a list, they're going to be like, this is fucking bullshit.
Well,
The average
someone
person isn't gonna
starting
wanna do it.
out at the very bottom shouldn't. If you're brand new, you don't know how things work. That's the way gaming works. You should have to learn to be
Yeah.
exceptionally good at whatever you decide to do.
Yeah, but
That's
you
my-
shouldn't have to learn a profession to be able to play a game.
Well, that's
At
why
the
I said
same
I
point.
seriously doubt they'll go as in depth as I want to do. But I don't
Yeah.
want it to be stupid easy.
Hmm.
There needs to be a learning curve. There needs to be some skill involved to be really effective.
Well, I mean, look at mining. That seems to be their gold standard of what they're going for so far. So I'd assume it'll be something. Yeah, obviously, what you're actually doing will be different, but I assume it will be something of a similar nature or skill level, I guess.
So I'll be sitting in a Herald next to an asteroid playing a mini game, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Just as long as the asteroid doesn't blow up.
It's going to be Frogger, isn't it?
Well, the asteroid might blow up, but that depends if you hack it too much.
I really hope the hacking minigame isn't Frogger.
It'll be like Pac-Man. You gotta follow the
Oh,
beads on the screen.
What was the old game where there's like Spy Hunter, where you're the car and you got the spikes on your wheels?
Yeah.
I can see that.
Oh God.
Victor Wolfong says, in that book series I talk about, the Bobbyverse, the reverse is true. Faster than light communication is a thing, but the ships are still limited to slower than light. Well, in Star Citizen, we don't have faster than light travel. We have the fastest a ship can travel is 20% the speed of light. But then there's jump points which connect two star systems together, but those are wormholes. That's not man-made ship space. That's not a ship traveling.
Wormholes function by bending space and time, so they're closer together.
Yes, that is how wormholes work. But it's not something the ship generates.
I still want to know, once we actually have another system in place, what the fuck are they gonna do if your jump drive gets damaged or something happens to it in the middle of a wormhole?
Yeah, I think Chris Roberts has said that you're just going to end up in the middle of space. You're just going to end up in the middle of nowhere. And be totally screwed.
Since we don't know what the tech they're using or how it functions, how wormholes function, I really hope they change it from what we saw, because I didn't like that at all.
I did not either.
We don't know how the wormhole works and how you get through it, so, I mean...
Oh, wait, no, wait.
Pure speculation.
I have a perfect video for this.
To go along with what you were saying, here's another thing to think about. Like that wormhole that they showed us, and yes, granted it's going to change, but that version that we saw, that didn't take into account. Think of how much traffic there's going to be in a wormhole. I mean, you've literally got all the different players who are transiting constantly.
Yeah, the way they designed it, at least in that demo.
1%. There's still the other 9% that is supposed to be AI.
Yeah.
And the way they had it in that demo, it looked like only one person can go through at a time.
Yeah,
but that does not work. No, you gotta.
Yeah.
It's gotta be bigger, and you gotta make it where people can multiple people can fly through it, and at opposing directions at once. People have to be coming and going.
At least be able to allow two javelins to pass each other, right?
Pretty much. I'd say that would be a goal.
Look at the video I just posted in the channel here.
Oh, the missile? Yeah, I watched that earlier.
Oh, the missile knows where it is, because it knows where it isn't.
Well, I don't like that they built a ring, like a station around the wormhole. I hate that idea.
Yeah.
It's been done so many times.
Yep, I'm with you.
And it's so small. The size of a whatever station or structure you would need, we're talking like, moon-sized almost.
Or it would make sense too if, like, I've just gotten into a system here. I don't want to have to go and travel from there to wherever else, especially if I'm damaged.
Right, exactly. I gotta find that concept art, but yeah.
I want it to be like Deep Space Nine, where yes, you can have a space station out there, but it's basically just a hole. And maybe there's a little buoy
exactly.
marker that's just a navigation aid, like aim for this, but that's it.
Yeah. The whole circular gate structure, I don't know if any of you have ever played any of the X games, but it looked like a carbon copy of what they do in that game, which isn't bad for that game, but
Yeah.
I don't like the idea in Star Citizen, specifically because of what we were talking about before. You need to have the ability to, have hundreds of ships going through at the same time, both ways.
Yeah. And I
Which I
agree with
don't
you.
think.
I'm not familiar with the X game that you're talking about, but to me, when I first saw it, that's actually what popped into my head was that looks like a console game version of
Yeah.
a ring gate, which
Yep.
wasn't good.
It's not very. I'd expect something a bit more creative. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You should be.
Like here, I have a picture of
on
the
conjectures,
original. Not
I
the
want to
original,
know
the new one. Hold on.
which system's going to be a Dyson sphere.
Dyson
the black
sphere.
hole. They're gonna build a Dyson sphere around the black hole. Don't ask how that works. It just does.
As
And
long
then
as
how
you build
big
it
is
far
the
enough
entrance?
out. You just have to
No, see,
engineer
what
it
it
to all
does-
come together, so it's like the stones that support each other, so it just it just clicks into place all at once.
Well, what the way it works is this Dyson sphere around the black hole. It's using the gravitational pull of the black hole to generate the energy.
Well, not only that, but you use it so the gravity from the hole is actually what like holds the plates all in place all at the same
that
time.
too, of course.
Yeah, build it like the old style stone bridges where the gravity keeps it from collapsing.
Yeah. Or like a nuclear explosion reversed.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, we're still working on the nuclear bomb-powered spaceships. Okay.
Yeah. That is some crazy shit. If anyone wants to have an interesting read.
Okay, here. So I got the images. I got the images on screen now. So this is the
I forget
demo.
what it was called, but yeah, basically they would shit out a pellet of atomic energy and explode.
Oh yeah,
behind
and
the
that would
rocket.
push the ship.
No. It wasn't a pellet. It was literally. So the idea behind it was that when we were coming out of the Cold War, and they're like, okay, well, hey, we've got all of these fucking bombs. What are we gonna do with them? Someone was like, hey, well, let's make a spaceship where we can drop the bomb behind it, explode it, and just use the energy to push it forward. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So I got
that
guys.
was once they were in space, but to actually get off the ground, they were going to just drop little pellets and let the explosions like boost them up in the air until they got into outer space, and then it was chuck a nuke behind us and let's go.
So I got the images of the demo one, the one from CitizenCon, of the jump point where it's pretty much just it's a Stargate ring. And I also have I think this was supposed to be original jump point. If not, it's just a really cool space station design that I hope we see. But like that original concept art of the ring station.
Never.
But
at
least this is more. I prefer this design that I have on screen right now over what we ended up getting here with this. Just hopefully they change it, or at the very least make it more creative. It has to be larger. I mean, at least this image does show a javelin going through it, and the javelin is pretty small in comparison. But no, sorry, not a javelin. Sorry, that's not a javelin. That's a Bengal. That's a Bengal carrier. Yeah. That's a Bengal. Okay, so the Bengal's small, so that's good. That means you can probably have a bunch of you can at least have 5 Bengals going through at once.
You know what that one would be this for, right? For a ring that size, that would be for either the Retribution or the Kingship to go through.
But yeah, that's the thing, is the Bengal is still pretty large in comparison. Just here, where exactly like all the Van Duel ships are larger, and then you have the Retribution, which is the largest ship ever.
I remember seeing too. Someone had found they data mined some some of the ships, because with there's rumors that with the Fleet Week.
Come on, Cam, spit it out.
Launch, whatever. I'm I tried to get it once.
Use your words.
Never. With the Fleet Week coming along, there's rumors that not only are we going to be seeing the Javelin and get to wander around there, but that we might see externally a Bengal.
Huh. Interesting.
Again, just rumors at this point. They found some like audio files that are data mined out there, but possibly.
I want
Oh,
the
data.
Dreadnought.
Yeah, this is such a simplistic design that you put it here. Like that's.
If you're
I want
the nuclear. Sorry, if you're interested in the nuclear engine,
Yeah.
NASA actually developed one that spits out particles. I've linked it in the chat.
Now keep in mind, this is we're the same country that tried to fit a nuclear reactor inside an airplane to power it.
So, I mean,
That was something we did in the
boats.
50s, trying to power. We wanted nuclear-powered bombers.
Yeah, why
Just
not?
imagine how that went.
I mean, hey, we were designing nuclear-powered cars too, so
Yeah.
Hydrogen fuel cell.
what could possibly go wrong?
Actually,
mean,
not a
it
lot.
is
A hydrogen fuel cell
more
would be great.
efficient than our traditional rocket engines, but one of the side effects is that it spits out nuclear waste, which is toxic to us
Yeah.
and our environment.
Details.
But
So
in the
here's a
middle of
question I got.
space, it could be useful.
Yeah. Well, in the middle of space, it's just gonna, blend in with all the other space radiation.
Cosmic
that's out there.
particles.
Yeah. But here's my question: why aren't we launching nuclear waste at the sun? Like, why are we keeping
That's
it
my question too.
and trying to
Because, like,
store it?
especially
because
with
it's too heavy. It would cost so much to get it into orbit.
well, I think one of the bigger issues is not even just the cost of getting into orbit, but what would happen if you had a rapid, unscheduled disassembly of the vehicle while it's
Oh,
in the
yeah.
air with
Yeah.
the waste?
Well, that's
It's.
why
I think
they're not
I think
doing
the
it, but
concern is
yeah.
that what happens if something goes wrong on the launch pad.
It's
Yeah,
safer
That's
to bury
what
it
a
than
rapid
risk it.
disassembly means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's safer to bury
I
it
didn't
than
hear you say
risk
that,
it
sorry.
being spread through the atmosphere if something horrible
Yeah.
wrong.
Once we have more commercialized and standardized space flight, so like once SpaceX is like, yeah, you can just go to the moon, you pay a couple $100 for a ticket and you're on the moon next week or whatever else. Once it's become more standardized and large scale, I could definitely see that being a really good option to get rid of it because as long as nothing goes wrong with it, which again the developing tech would provide more safety systems in case of anything like that. That's a perfect solution. We don't want it near us, so okay, we'll chuck it in the sun. There you go.
Well, I vote we size all the nuclear waste down into tiny little golf ball size or even smaller, maybe just a ping pong ball.
We're not
Like
playing
small
nuclear
enough
golf.
that it's not deadly per se. And then we just have like a bunch of, those
Then we just have
amateur
a potato
rockets.
gun.
Those amateur rockets that can just reach outer space. You have people launching them. That way, if something goes wrong, it's a small enough amount that it doesn't actually have a drastic impact. And, it's like, and then just have another spaceship up there that just goes around and sucks them up until it's full. And then you just launch that thing at the sun.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways.
And Love and
Just an
Kindness
idea.
is in the chat saying, hey, so, hey, Love and Kindness.
Hey.
Hey.
See?
Hey. Alright, so, moving back to Star Citizen, though. We covered Invictus, we covered...
rabbit hole.
Yeah, right. We need to find new rabbit hole. So 3.13.
See the size of that cave behind me?
Anyway.
Speaking. Okay, so Star Citizen 3.13. What do we like? What we didn't like? Let's just simplify it. And what was good about the new patch and what was not good about the new patch? I think we've gone into what's not good. What's good about it?
I love the new tires models. And I love the new Ursa. So
how's the Ursa changed? Because I actually have not pulled it out.
So you remember it's been a while, but we were out on one of the planets, and you were stuck in the Ursa because it didn't have enough oomph to get up a hill,
Yeah.
and you were like getting really pissed, and we just left it there. Well, that's not a problem anymore. It has plenty of torque, and it's actually marginally faster than the base Cyclone in terms of flat out speed. And with the new tire model, you can now slide, so the wheels don't have infinite grip anymore. Even in the base Cyclone, if you get on, well, I think it's like sand or ice, definitely ice, maybe sand. I don't think tarmac, but you can legit drift around corners and stuff.
That's pretty cool. I'm gonna go to. I'm in the game right now. I'm gonna go jump to a facility and spawn it out and take a look.
Also, vehicles have an auto upright feature now.
They pretty much they want to stay upright. Yeah.
Gameplay wise, now if you flip over on your wheels, then you'll have a magic hand come and smack you and knock you back over.
Yep.
See, I'm okay with that. I want more of that. I want more of the imagination version until they have the mechanic in, rather than just making it a shitty experience.
Well, we know that the Cyclone's supposed to have maneuvering jets to fix you upright in case you're knocked down like that, but I never remember hearing anything about the Ursa rover having one. So if they just decide to retcon that, where it's like, okay, the Ursa has that too. That's fine. I'm just saying they never mentioned it.
Added because the tendency of vehicles to flip over was just too high.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Any update on the hoverables? The Dragonfly and
they still suck really bad.
Okay.
Avoid.
So they make good torpedoes.
I'm not even sure they make a good torpedo because they're so slow. Their speed got nerfed.
Oh man!
A couple patches ago. It's not fun.
Darn it!
Rest in pieces.
I'm really happy that the MSR has lockable doors. That'll be my input.
I'm now showing footage of of my first time in the new Ursa. And it was an interesting experience, especially when I tipped over, flipped on my back, bounced off my back, and then just right side. Somehow
the Ursa had
came back on my wheels.
It had a grid that had gravity like most of the ships do, but now that's gone.
Now it doesn't.
If there's anybody standing in the back and you go up a hill or flip upside down, then their orientation is going to be fixed to whatever planet or moon you're on, regardless of the vehicle.
What if they're in one of the seats?
And you will occasionally fall through the planet's surface, in which case the rover, after a certain distance, will just explode.
I don't know about if they're seated. That's something we didn't test.
No.
Okay.
But you fell through the planet right as your game crashed, and I was still in the back of the rover, falling through the planet, and the rover exploded, and yeah.
I was watching a streamer, and he sat down on the bed of somebody's ship, and the ship was going through maneuvers, and there were a couple times where he got knocked off the bed or made him stand up. So I'm not sure. Something we should test.
Also, can the rover go underwater? Has anyone tried that?
No,
I have not tried underwater. Probably not. Okay. Water isn't actually water in the game yet, so it doesn't.
It's actually acid.
It certainly feels like it.
I saw somebody taking a caterpillar and putting it nose down into the water, like they basically put the ship all the way in, all up till the command module, and then they stopped. And they got out, and they were able to actually walk down through the inside of the caterpillar and be underwater.
Did the water effect go through the ship, like clip through the walls and stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, that might just be like a grid deal where they're inside the grid of the ship. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but that's what made me wonder if you could maybe do that with a Ursa.
It's an interesting question. Another thing we'll have to test.
Yep.
We should probably test the seat thing first, though.
Jack Axton was the guy who was doing it. I don't remember which episode, but he streams like almost every day. He's gotten really negative. I'll warn people if they're going to go watch him. He used to be really positive, and then his trading got taken away, and he's become a very sarcastic streamer.
Oh well. I gotta say, I do like the new caves. Although the on foot caves, not the sinkholes, but the on foot caves I've been to, they all feel very the same now compared to several patches ago, where they each varied a bit. Like they had the same elements, but it's like, in one cave you would turn right, whereas in another cave you wouldn't even have a turn. You'd have to crawl somewhere. It's like now they're all kind of the same because of the FPS missions.
Oh, right.
They added, I don't know how many locations for the caves now, but there are multiple places on the surface now instead of just one or two. Like there,
Yeah.
I kind of wonder, since the base layout of each cave is the same for the FPS missions, at least everyone that I've been in. I'm kind of wondering if they're using a procedural tech to slightly modify the inside of them, so there's a little bit of differences, kind of like they do with space stations, but the overall design is the same.
Yeah, like it puts a tunnel in, and the tunnel has 3 branches, but what's inside each tunnel may be a variant.
Well, these tunnels are these caves specifically for the FPS missions are very linear. There's only
Almost
one path
identical
you can go
also.
through.
Yeah.
It feels more like in each of the rooms, maybe the rocks have like 1 or 2 different ways that they can spawn in there or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but
Gotcha.
A lot of them feel very, very the same every time I've been in one.
The overall layout of the path you have to go is exactly the same.
So much like the bunkers.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if maybe I don't think maybe they did just add like 5 or so different locations that are subtly different, but I'd be interested to know if they're using some kind of procedural tech to spawn them when someone gets a mission. That way they don't have to always have them on the surface, so they'll spawn when they get there and despawn when they leave or something like that.
Makes sense. If nobody's around, why waste the CPU effort?
Yeah. And all of these caves are out in the middle of nowhere. It is extremely unlikely that you would find one by accident.
At least until we have proper scanning.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Okay, good luck. See you in 13 hours.
Yeah.
I guess we could test it out by doing the old triangulation
Yeah.
method.
You can look at some old footage and see what jump points are nearby or something.
Yep.
As for the sinkholes and stuff,
I'm trying to find jump down.
Speaking of which, if anyone is a math genius, I know what needs to be done. I just don't know how to do it. We could make a formula, a calculator that will let you find any location that you want once it's been visited at least once. I just don't know how to set it up to do it. Like, I figured
there's a site. There's already a website that has all the unmarked locations and directions to get there. I don't have the link on hand. I don't remember what it's called, but I do know where to get the link.
I'm just saying we could make a little calculator device, like an Excel spreadsheet that you could share, that basically would let you just go, where am I trying to go to? And you just plug it in and it goes, fly to here, and turn here. But anyways, just saying, if anyone's a math expert.
Thursday night, I was on board someone's hammerhead, and I told them to fly the hammerhead into a sinkhole, and it fit.
Nice.
And he was not a great pilot because he couldn't land it in there, but I think there is enough room in the sinkhole itself that you could maneuver the hammerhead to actually land it.
Yeah, I was going to say his definition of fit is probably not what our normal definition of fit is.
No, like you see, I'm showing the footage on screen now so people can see it, or people watching can see it, but he pretty much just flies it into the hole and then just has it standing on its nose. I mean, could have been worse.
Could be better.
True. You've got new caves, the reputation system we already went into. I mean, yeah, there wasn't really 3.13 wasn't a huge patch in terms of content. It wasn't. It's not going to be like a 3.14 where it's like, okay, we got Crusader and everything.
Oh, and that's also only going to be the first iteration of Crusader, because they're going to go and for the
Yeah,
Ursa they're going to add more of it later as well.
True.
So we're not getting it all just yet.
No, it's going to be like a new Babbage type situation. Oh, we're not getting it all at once.
Yep.
I think the actual area that you can move around in as a player is going to be a lot smaller than what I first thought.
Well, if I remember, there's going to be 3 sections as well. There's the kind of hab area with shops. There's like a tourism area, and then there's the actual or one of the factories building the ships.
So I might have misunderstood what I was seeing, but on the ICS where they showed it all off, it just seems like it was all kind of crammed in there really tight.
Yeah, it didn't. I don't know. I gotta watch the footage again, but hopefully we have multiple platforms. They're not maybe they're not all attached. Maybe they are. I don't really care, honestly. I just don't want it to be just one little section, you know.
If you think about Area 18, it seems big,
but it's not.
But if you, yeah, it's basically just a little loop with the center.
Area 18, yeah, I mean, I was really actually a little. It was cool at first, but I'm kind of a little disappointed that they haven't expanded it because it's so small.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I was disappointed with it when it came out. Not at all. I was just, I wish they expanded upon it, like, and not in the way where it's like, okay, you have to take a tram to the rest of it. No, I want to be able to like run on foot,
like
or
other
stuff like that.
I mean, I still would like the ability to take ground vehicles and
I was
drive.
gonna say, ideally, I'd want to take a ground vehicle, but I can understand, until they get the roads and stuff in first. But like, at least expand on what we already have, so that you can, okay, instead of, because how many freaking back alleys are there in Area 18 that lead to nowhere?
At least there's definitely the possibility that they could in the future expand it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like they can totally expand on it. I just wish that we've seen some expansion.
Maybe once we get server meshing in, then they can look into doing something like that.
Server meshing will fix it.
Remember one of the Inside Star Citizens, they had some people talking about whether they were planning to expand landing zones. And I think pretty much the answer all across the board is it's something that we could look at in the future, but right now we have our plate full with all the other stuff we have to get done first.
Which is understandable, but at least they aren't ruling it out.
How much longer do you guys want to go? Because it's already been like 2 hours.
I think you guys want to move on from Star Citizen to the next topic.
Your call.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't want to be here for another hour now.
Understand.
That's it. You're not getting a Christmas card.
All right, so we have some Sony news, which isn't great. So, which part of Sony do you want to talk about first? The designed life expectancy of the PS4, their obsession with making blockbuster movie titles based on games, which is then causing them to make games specifically designed to become blockbusters, ignoring smaller titles and also ignoring the Japanese market, or that's actually the only topic. So yeah, which one of those first?
Well, I'll go on record as saying this. It's Sony. They've
I
had
know,
a very, very long history of it. I mean, look at their product line in general. Like, you buy a camera, and within a year, that camera is obsolete because they've moved on to 5 other different types of cameras. So to say that anyone should be surprised by that in their
I'm
gaming,
not. Look, Sony's been doing anti-customer practices for for a better half of for over I'd say a decade
I'm not even talking
over.
about
It's been a long
anti-practice.
time.
I'm just talking about they don't support their back products. Like they move on so quickly that they there's the way their business model is designed. Hey, we made something really awesome. You bought it. That's great. It doesn't work anymore. So buy the next item. That's been their business model for decades.
So basically, my 2 cents are: we live in a consumeristic society where companies have to constantly be putting out the next tech in order to make revenue,
Yep.
and they purposely limit the jumps in technology to maximize their profit off of it. So I hate it. I don't like it. I understand why they do it, and I usually just vote with my wallet.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think they also put, because of that thinking that you're talking about, I think you also get some subpar quality of the item that you're buying because it's not designed to last.
Absolutely.
Case in point, the technology and the phones that Japan has versus the technology that we have here.
Yeah. Well, pretty much everywhere else.
But pretty much so anyone doesn't know the story, pretty much the CMSO battery on your PlayStation needs to be connected to PlayStation Network servers, and it pretty much means, say, in 20 years when those don't exist, your PlayStation 4 is dead. It won't run discs, and digital games will not exist on your. It's pretty much it's going to kill your. It's going to break your console essentially. Your console is designed to be bricked after a certain.
Yeah.
Does that really surprise anyone though? I mean,
it doesn't, but that's the problem. I mean,
the fact that Nintendo is starting to make money off of their 20-year-old games.
But that's the thing, is that
absolute sense for me.
Also, Nintendo has a problem with game preservation as well, because they just took off. They planned this. Like they said that they were going to do this, and they did. And that was the Nintendo. I think the most recent Mario game. I haven't been following it that closely, but the most recent Mario game, they stopped selling it. So pretty much, it's now a rarity, right? Like physical discs are a rarity, and if digitally you can't get anywhere. And the thing is, these companies are essentially encouraging piracy because they're not doing anything to counter. Like emulation and piracy is now going to be essentially your go-to because there's not going to be any other way to do it. The official ways are either more costly and more they're just it's not or just non-existent.
Vote with your wallet.
Yeah, pretty much. If you look at it from a business perspective, though, if you look at the stats, the number of people who are interested in games that were made 20 years ago is a very small minority compared to the masses of people who are buying up current tech. So the older it gets, the less valuable it's going to be. I don't like it from the perspective of people who like to play retro games, but when things get old, they get left in the technology. So it's kind of the way it is.
Yep. We used to, in my old job, we used to have to do keep video records of things that we did, and it was a huge pain in the ass because Sony made the best product for what we needed to do, but you'd buy a product and within 2 years, if anything happened to the video camera, and we were putting them into a lot of abusive environments, within 2 years, you couldn't get any work redone. You couldn't get the cameras fixed because they no longer supported that camera that had been brand new when it had been bought 2 years ago. And they're like, oh, the model GY35, yeah, no, there's now a GY36. You can buy that one, but we don't support the 35 anymore. And that's just the way they do business. They do every couple of years, move on.
Well, that's also too why companies are opposed to the whole right to repair, because then it's like, well, if you don't go, if your product stops working, we want you to buy the new one. If you go and repair your product, if you make it last, we don't want that. Buy the new shit.
Vote with your wallets.
Like, look, take Windows 10 probably the best example of this, where it's like, you know, yeah, I know. Look, I said this before, and I'll say it again. When I get my hands on the guy that made Windows 10, remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago? We were like going on, all three of us were going on rants, or all four of us were going on rants on Windows 10, and then eventually, Cam, your computer actually crashed because of it. Yeah. Like Windows 10 crashed your computer. Did you ever figure out why?
No idea.
It's Windows 10 for you.
Good times, good times.
But the thing is with this, with the PlayStation 4 thing, it's CMOS. I was saying CMSO. Sorry. But with the battery here, it's like it's a planned death for it, and it sucks. Like, look, I have my PlayStation 2. I've had it since it came out. I can still play that. I do still play it at times. You know, my Xbox 360, same thing. I can still play that whenever I want. But with the PlayStation 4, I mean, I don't have one, but I'm saying for those who do have one, you in 20 years' time, you can't play that. Whereas it's been 20 years since the PlayStation 2 came out, and I can still play it. No problem.
So here's my question, Mando. Why is this a big deal? I mean, hasn't Apple just gone through like tons of legal problems with and been legally proven in court that they purposely
designed their iPhones to become
down to drain their systems, so they'd have to replace the whole their iPhones and their iPads?
Yeah, no, that's the case too.
No, if I remember right, so the issue, or at least the one I had heard of, and this was like a recent like lawsuit, I think that was against Apple. It was like a year or two ago, something like that. What it was is that people were going, hey, my older phone, so like I have an iPhone 6, for example, it's running a lot slower than it did before, and people were going, hey, Apple, and it was found, hey, it is being slowed purposefully. People are like, hey, Apple, what the fuck? Apple's claim from their end was that, hey, because these systems are older and because with the advancements of the phone systems and what you want them to do, that is going and requiring ever more processing power, battery power, etc. And so they were specifically throttling what it could do to prevent it from essentially dying in a heap. Again, according to them, they're going, we're personally doing it to maintain battery life and to go and maintain with what the processor in those phones can do. I forgot what the actual outcome was of the lawsuit there.
They were found guilty.
They were? Okay,
yeah.
I don't know what changes they might have had to make from that, but
basically they're not supposed to they're not supposed to go in after the fact and start messing with your basic,
with the basic
personal of the device.
Yeah, your personal performance of the device after they've sold that device to you, just to quote unquote save it, from what's going on. It'd be like to give it an analogy that maybe more people would understand. It'd be like, GM coming along and basically putting a limiter on your vehicle and going, well, because you're not operating the latest current software that we put into the 2021 model, you can't drive your 2016 Mustang at 80 miles an hour.
Fast. Yeah, they'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a little bit deeper than that. So as technology and batteries get older, they're going to degrade. Your CPU is slowly degrading. Your battery's capacity to store is also slowly degrading.
Yes.
So after a period of a year, that device is not going to operate like it did brand new.
Right, but here's the thing with the PS4 battery.
They were purposely reducing the performance of the device. And I think part of their argument was that it would help your battery last longer because it's not sucking as much juice.
But here's the thing,
and that's basically what was wrong, is that we're degrading your device to save the battery, and people are saying, look, you didn't give us an option. You could have at least said, hey, do you want longer battery life, or do you want your device to work as you expect it?
And the situation here with the PS4 is that it's not that the battery is going to die. Like, look, over time batteries will die anyways. But the thing is, even if you replace the battery, it won't help anything.
Oh no! All I was getting at that when I brought this whole thing up was like, look at Apple. Look at what they've been doing for their personal product. Why would it surprise you that other companies are basically dumbing their shit down to get you to move on to the next thing? It's everywhere.
Right.
We shouldn't be surprised by it.
But yeah, like the article here says, even if you replace the CMOS battery, when Sony decides to take down its PS4 servers, which eventually they will, eventually they're going to move on to the PS, they're going to shut down the PS4 stuff to move on to PS5 and PS6 eventually, and shut down the PS5.
So what you're saying is we need to set up a server and just wait.
But when you replace, say Sony even if before Sony takes down their servers, you replace the CMOS battery, and it's a brand new battery, right? And then say they take down the servers a week from then, because they took down the servers, your games will still, your PS4 can be brick because you can't do anything.
Well, this isn't the first. Well, it might be the first system, but it's not the first game or whatever that's had that problem where you buy a game, you play it for a while, but the game ends up not doing well, and say a couple, 3 years, something later, they have to shut down the servers because it's not profitable. Well, when that happens, that game no longer functions. You can't do anything with it. So I don't know why they're doing it. I would be interested in hearing the reasoning behind that. But from my perspective, is that you either accept that and play the console, you're going to have probably a long time of enjoyment with it, or you don't buy it and you don't enjoy it. It's for people who have already bought it. You might get irritated that it's going to happen sometime in the future, but at that point, you're complaining about it isn't going to change anything.
No, but it's definitely. Look, this is a problem that this shouldn't be. This was designed on purpose.
Or go the other way and call your senator and ask him what the hell's going on and why isn't he taking action on this? Make it a national issue.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
Also, too, back on Star Citizen, just real quick, I posted a graphic in the chat there. Some of the ship names and size comparisons. So, yeah, big shit.
Ship name versus size comparison.
It's pretty much just like, here's the Retribution next to a Bengal, next to a Hammerhead, next to...
Essentially, someone went and data mined all the lore posts and stuff and was like, okay, here's all of the officially named UEE ships. So all the ones that have been posted in lore posts or other media put out, here's all the officially named UEE ships and what their classes are.
Right, so we got I see. So like the Idris, you got the UES Idris, obviously being the first ship to name that. Then you have the UES Stanton, which is the Idris that you'll be serving on in Squadron. You have the UES Ashton, for instance, for the Javelin, you got the UES Warhammer, which is ship we'll be taking a tour on during Invictus.
I didn't know the Nautilus was going to be that big.
I know. Just I love seeing these ship sizes, and it's like, oh, that's a Hammerhead. Oh, that's a Hammerhead.
Yeah.
True.
The Perseus actually is small. I like it. What was that?
Where's the Terrapin?
It's right there. Don't you see it?
Yeah, it's that little speck right there.
It's that tiny little pixel.
Oh, I thought that was an antenna. Never mind.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, back to the whole Sony thing. It's pretty much the post
they're
here.
Doing something that's messed up. Vote with your wallet.
Yeah, but the article here, the post, whatever, from the hacker that actually found this out, Lance McDonald says this error is because trophies on PS4 require the internal system clock, the one you can't see alter, to be correct. So people can't change their PS4 date and time to make it look like they got trophies earlier than they really did. If the PS4 clock battery dies, all your games die. When the PS4 CMOS battery dies, and it will, it renders all PS4 digital files unusable without a server reconnection, and in PS4 it also kills disk playback. So, bricking your console.
Hooray.
I don't know. From my perspective, until I have more information, I don't want to jump to any conclusions. So
I'm just saying, like, say they decide to cut it.
For me, this is all hearsay. I have no experience, so I have to trust the word of some hacker somewhere.
Yeah.
And while I'm not saying that they aren't trustworthy, it's a hacker.
Yeah, but what if he's a civil hacker, a white hacker?
He worked for the government. Okay.
Yeah, you got a point though. You know, why is this story being announced at this time? You know, what's the benefit to be gained?
I think at least this is just my 2 cents. Is it's being told now because, let's face it, the PS4 is now becoming the redundant console compared to the with the PS5
Sorry, you
now.
keep cutting out. It's really hard to hear what you're saying.
I'm saying that the PS4 is becoming the redundant console compared to the PS5 now that that's out. That soon they're just going to shut the servers down, which means you're going to have a brick console.
There you go.
So that's just my 2 cents, but I think that's the reason why this story is coming out now is because, hey, look, now the PS5 is out and it's selling really well, and it's a year into the almost a year into the PS5's life cycle. You know, eventually the PS4 is going to be phased out and shut down. They're going to cut the servers down. I mean, they recently did that with the Xbox 360, I think. So, and yeah, that's the last
PS5
gen. But
fully backwards compatible with the PS4?
No, it's not. It is not fully backwards compatible. Only specific games.
But you put this out now, and then you wait 2 years, and then you cut the service, and people scream and shout, and you go, "Hey, look! This was identified 2 years ago. Like, you guys knew about this. It's not a surprise."
Look, yeah. Well, look. Either way, at least now you know about it versus it happens, and then
If you look at the servers that are up, I mean, Sony has to pay for these, right?
I imagine so.
So for them, it's not cost effective to support something when you have a better product on the market.
No, but I think the design philosophy. I think the design philosophy for the console and that it has to rely on servers in order to function is kind of redundant in and of itself. Like, and it's not like as I say, like at least again, assuming that this is accurate, he's saying that this is for trophy, so you can't alter the time that you've acquired the trophy versus when you actually did. And like really, that's why you have to be connected to a server.
Well, yeah,
I assume it's probably also an anti-piracy.
Does it surprise you that people would try to cheat on the trophies? It doesn't mean.
No.
Yeah. I mean, to me at least, that's kind of stupid, but that's also because I really don't care about trophies and that kind of thing.
But to make such a drastic decision based on
a design decision too,
trophies,
yeah.
That's the part that I'm kind of like, huh.
Exactly. Like I have a hard time believing that. I have a easier time believing that this was like a DRM, like an anti-piracy measure. And even still, like you're making it where piracy is more attainable and feasible, like or more appealing to your customer compared to using your product, because at least with the piracy, it would say an emulator, right? A PS4 emulator on PC, you can use that any time, now, 20 years, whatever. It's not going to die because it's an emulator. Whereas the actual console will be bricked in 20 years.
So
honestly, from where I sit, 20 years is an acceptable life for a console.
Oh, to me, that's like 10 years is probably an old console. Like,
yes, but that's not that. We're not talking about the console. We're talking about, say, you want to play a specific game.
Right, but
you're saying you've never played a 20 or 10-year-old game?
Oh, I have. On a computer.
Right, but a lot of these games, like all the PS4 exclusives, you won't be able to play on your computer unless you have an emulator, and there is no.
Yeah, and I'm saying for the amount of money that you spent to originally buy the game, I don't have an expectation to be able to play that game 20 years from now, based on that price. Like it's that I understand where you're trying to go with this, but at the same time, I mean, let's think about it. Like, are you really expecting to be able to play every game that you've ever bought indefinitely?
Yes, forever.
Why not?
Well,
I thank you for proving my point, Cam.
if I can't play my fucking Windows pinball, I'm gonna be pissed.
I'm upset right now. I can't play my original Microsoft Flight Simulator.
The
Those bastards.
You know, like
they
that's
killed Kenny.
that's all I'm getting at. Is like there is a certain point that you reach that the expectations might be a little unrealistic, and to me, 10 years is pretty fantastic.
It's when you run 3 emulators on top of one another to play it.
But I still don't like from the information that we've been provided. I still, it sounds kind of heavy-handed what Sony's doing, and it doesn't surprise me based off of my own personal experience with Sony in the past that they would do something like that. And again, like we said before, vote with your wallet if you don't agree with it, but definitely do your own research.
Yeah.
Don't take our word for it.
We're clueless, man.
But that's
I think you mean we're clueless men, being the plural.
Yeah, that too. But in other news, also we have Sony Japan has been sidelined from PlayStation 5's launch, according to Bloomberg, a Bloomberg report, and that's pretty much. So, I'm not too familiar with this story, unfortunately, but supposedly Sony's been Americanizing the company. They have a new central headquarters in California now, and they're focusing more on American audience, and they're sidelining their Japanese audience which is funny considering how they're a Japanese company. So now Microsoft is looking to appeal to the Japanese market, which, I mean, hey, look, you leave a void, someone's got to fill it.
It's interesting. From a company perspective, you go where the money is. So
yeah.
If you look population-wise, the U.S. market is much larger than the Japanese market.
It is.
I mean, it's the same reason why the NBA is trying to go to China, because the market there is way larger than what they get here.
But you have the cultural aspect that I think if you look at the actual percentages of users of the product, Japan might have a higher use, i.e. they're adult males, more of them play video games than our average 34-year-old.
So I can understand why nationals in Japan are irritated or angry at Sony because they're moving to a different country. It's kind of like they feel like they're traitors. I understand that, but I wouldn't be hell, most of our manufacturing went to Mexico. So I don't feel betrayed. I wouldn't feel betrayed. I might be irritated by it, but
I'm just pointing, honestly, I mean, I just find it funny, they're leaving, this is a Japanese company leaving to become an American company, and then you have Microsoft, which has constantly failed in Japan with Xbox, now looking to try again.
I just question Sony going to California, because
they're already there.
But
not a good
having
time.
Made that decision, not a good time. Was it
California
for the first time in its history lost seats, according to the latest census, because that's how many people left in the last 10 years. Their taxation system is anti-business right now. I don't want to trigger a bunch of people and everything. I'm not trying to do that. I just think that California has kind of made some decisions that are making people less and less interested in going there. And so for Sony to headquarter there is interesting.
I know someone that lives in California that's asking me about rent in New York because he wants to move here. That tells you how bad California is if you want to come here and move to New York.
Don't get me wrong. I've lived there. I grew up there, and it's a beautiful state. And it has amazing geography and the things that you can do there. are amazing. It's just the governance is broken, and I'm not trying to go left, right, blue, red, anything. There's just there. It's not good for business. The taxation's broken. Um, there's a lot of economic problems that they have to fix before things get right again. And their popularity over the past 30 years, 40 years was based off of the good decisions they made back in the 70s. That's why they were so successful. But now, they haven't improved upon that. Like they haven't done anything new since the 70s. Anyways, I'll get off that rant. Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
So the other part of this article was that Microsoft is now trying to take up the reins of the Japanese.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So I know, right? Like they failed with the original Xbox. They failed. They didn't even try 360 because they knew they failed the first time. They tried again with Xbox One and sold, I think, 0.1% of Xbox One sales were in Japan. And now they're going to try again because Sony's, focusing more on America. Mainly focusing more on blockbuster, hits based on their video games. What was it, last week or 2 weeks? No, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. We covered the stories on them making a Last of Us movie and a Last of Us. Was it Last of Us? No, Uncharted movie. I think they're working on a Last of Us series on Netflix. They're working on a bunch of series on Netflix. They made that Netflix deal where they have exclusivity there. Netflix having exclusivity with Sony. But yeah, it's like there's a whole bunch of movie. They're making a Ghost of Tsushima movie now. They're trying to make movies based on all their successful exclusives, and now they're focusing more on making exclusives to become movies, which is kind of at odds with a lot of the smaller studios and smaller games that they have. And there's a lot of internal strife.
Well, it doesn't sound like they made a bad decision trying to focus on the U.S. market if Microsoft is having such a hard time penetrating the Japanese market. So from that perspective, then they're probably doing a good thing as far as like the company's profits are concerned. As far as the movies and TV shows, I haven't played any of those games except Uncharted, which I really liked. And if they can make that into a good movie, then I'm all for it.
Sorry, they're making a Last of Us HBO television series. I said Netflix.
I mean, it could be interesting. It depends on what they decide to do with the story and the characters.
I'm scared because just last night I watched that latest. Was it the Tom Clancy book made into a movie for not Netflix but Amazon?
Oh, Jack Ryan, the show Jack Ryan.
No, not Jack Ryan. This is it. This is Remorse was the book.
You mean another one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about John Clark, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is just my personal opinion. I'm not trying to upset anyone else, but I am familiar with the book, having read it several times. To me, they took a really good story, a really simplistic story that could have been done very, very well, and just wrecked it with what they did in the show. And it's like, to me, the way they did it, and now that I'm saying it, if you go watch it, you'll see exactly what I'm saying. But it's like it's something that I'm noticing with almost everything that's coming out of Hollywood in the last few years, where they literally just go, okay, we need this to happen, then we need this to happen, oh, and then you need this to happen and this to happen. Here you go, here's your show. And like it was frustrating to watch, actually, because
I'm sure.
Yep.
I mean,
totally unrealistic, and you're like, oh, okay, so first we show how much of a badass he is. Okay, and now we need some aggression.
Well, that's why I called. Yeah, that's why I called Godzilla vs. Kong a cookie cutter Hollywood film, because that's what it was.
Well, that's what they just did, and I just watched it last night, and I was just like, "Oh God, you had a gold mine, and you ruined it by making it a cookie cutter."
It's
And
also
just,
funny
really
because
that's Hollywood in a nutshell nowadays.
yeah, it's funny
exactly.
too because take some of the original like those original movies based off of the Tom Clancy books where it's Hunt for Red October or Patriot Games, Clear and Present
That's
Danger.
what I mean by
They're
they had
good
a gold
movies. They're faithful to the book. It's like they were actually really good and enjoyable. I love rewatching Clear and Present Danger. It's just such a fun movie.
And even the Jack Ryan series is actually not that bad.
I haven't watched it yet, just because I don't know. I don't know why I haven't watched it, but
it's pretty good.
It's not bad. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but this Without Remorse thing was like, I mean, of course, now there's some personal stuff in there that, like, it's a black guy and his boss is a female Black SEAL officer who's, it just nothing. I have nothing. No.
Don't you love it when they race swap because representation and diversity and inclusion and all those other fancy buzzwords that are absolute bullshit?
Yeah, and show me a female Navy SEAL.
It just
you mean like a show that's based on Poland, and they go and they start putting black people in there because diversity. And I was like, well, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be about a fantasy medieval Poland?
Well, let me put it this way: with all the ethnic diversity that's being thrown out there by Hollywood right now, I'd like to know where my white Martin Luther King is.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is it's fine to race swap anyone that's white, but if you race swap someone that's black, oh no, that you're a racist. That's evil. You can't do that. Like, it's racist either way you flip it.
I'm not being racist. I just don't. I don't
like,
agree with making things up just to make things up.
Look. Hollywood's been doing this for the better half of 20 years now, and that is race swapping redheads. If it's a redhead character, they turn them black. It's happened with almost every comic book. I swear, there's an article. I read an article recently, like 3 months ago, that had a list of going on 25 comic book characters and movie, like not just comic book characters in general, that are redheads that have been race swapped in film or in other comic books. Obviously the biggest one would be Annie, right? It's a Hard Knock Life, Tomorrow, all that. You had then obviously Mary Jane in the newer Spider-Man movies. I know it's not Mary Jane, but let's be honest. Do you think they're gonna have two MJs on screen? Get real. They had that. They had Iris West and Wally West, both on the Flash TV show, were race swapped. You had what's the name of the character? The Invincible, that new show on Amazon, which, by the way, it's actually really good. They do have a race swap character, though. She wasn't a redhead. She was a blonde, but she was still white, and they race swapped her for the show. But
yeah,
they made her a very. It feels like they made her a purposely unlikable character in the show. It's weird, but they have. I have to find this article because
she's. Well, we need somebody to fill the Karen role.
Yeah, she pretty much is kind of the Karen.
I'm just seeing that a lot of this stuff is going on lately, and so the whole reason I brought this up to kind of bring it around, I guess, is just that I don't see much success for Sony if that's what they're going to start doing, is trying to create shows out of their games.
I found the article.
Then that's like basically you're going to have Hollywood involved in that, and that's just going to be. I mean, a game is not enough of a structure for a movie. Unfortunately, you're just going to have cookie cutter.
I don't totally agree with you. Okay. I don't know if you've watched The Witcher on Netflix, but
no, I have not.
That's based more on the book, though, isn't it?
Well, they made 3 games out of it. It's like games and books. But my point is that just because a game is really good doesn't mean a movie's going to be really good, and vice versa. Just because a movie's going to be is good doesn't mean the game's really good.
True.
It depends on the people who are making the film. So
right, and that's actually what I was getting at. Is I agree with you on your on that idea that the book doesn't make it a good movie, and the movie doesn't make it a good book or game. Insert as necessary. But the point I was making was, it seems like there's so much cookie cutter going on that I don't think we're going to see good product, whether or not it's coming from a good book or a good game into the opposite. It just seems like there's a cookie cutter process that's just going to be like, okay.
Well, I mean, it's gonna keep going until they stop making money.
Sharknado 5.
Okay, so here, this article I have, it literally lists all. Okay, so here's how many. All right, how many are there that have been race swapped so far? I'm just gonna scroll all the way to the bottom and see what the number is. Yeah, 25. 25 different characters, all race swapped. So you have Jimmy Olsen, Wally West, Iris West, Batwoman, Starfire, April O'Neil, Jim Gordon, and Commissioner Gordon.
Upset with me for the things I said. Just realize I'm old enough to own what I say.
I'm sure the 3 people who watch us will be very upset.
You say that now, and you're going to wake up tomorrow and we're on national news.
Oh my god.
Hey, just imagine how many subscribers.
Racist terrorists! Just have discussion on Discord.
Oh, that's right. They race swapped Flash Thompson. I even forgot about that. Yeah, Mary Jane Watson. They just race swap everyone.
Yep. Speaking of which, just to go ahead and open another black hole. Where's the FBI been lately? I mean, weren't our freedoms given up so that they would be able to tap in and know everything that's going on? Like all this late violence that's been going down lately. Where's our FBI been?
Occupied somewhere else.
They're too busy looking for the weight ring supremacists.
Okay.
They'll find them eventually.
Shouldn't they not have to look anymore because they can basically access everyone's computers?
Details.
Like, shouldn't they already know all this stuff? Yeah, I'm just talking about.
Speaking of which, I recently applied to a job at Google. Well, I say applied, but really, I'm just.
Dear God, why?
Can't talk to you anymore.
They already know everything.
They're evil,
why?
don't you know? They're spying on everything.
Woo.
No, what was it I just read last week that, like, I guess Apple is now, maybe I got this wrong. Apple, Google, and Amazon. So it's either Apple or Amazon disclosed how much Google is tracking people based on their internet and cell phone usage, and it was quite scary.
Yeah, they're collecting data on everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Things you don't even think about. They're like, yep, got it.
Creepy.
The database is set up so the AI overlords can take over. Now the AI just has to get smart enough to get access to it.
And that's not going to take much, considering how stupid we are.
Hey, artificial ignorance is working on as fast as they can.
That may be our only saving grace, is if we actually become stupid enough that the AI just goes.
Are you doubting? Are you doubting our ability to become stupid enough?
We're leaving. Like the AI just goes, oh, I've already figured out interstellar space travel. I'm taking off. Have fun, y'all.
Yeah, right.
That's probably a more realistic outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
I hope so, so I can join them.
Back to the original topic.
But yeah, Sony's trying to make blockbuster hits out of all their games, which means.
I think it's bad that they're trying to make games specifically that are become blockbuster?
And the problem with that is that it means, like, if your game doesn't do well, it's not going to get a sequel and stuff like that. And obviously that's always the case, but like you have games like I think one of the recent games that have been up for debate regarding this topic lately was Days Gone. That zombie game came out a few years ago. It was mediocrely received, but a lot of people wanted a sequel, and now it's not going to get one because of this whole thing. There's going to be a lot of other games that, because now only the big studios are going to be making games
less
that
sandbox games and more episodic games, i.e., you're going to get more Squadron 42, but you're going to get less Star Citizen.
So there's another side of this argument that really irritates, or another side,
Okay.
and that's this sense of entitlement that people seem to have, that they have the right to get a game that they want. Right? That's kind of what this is about, right?
Are you a
There's a
communist?
company,
Do you not know
and they're
what?
going to make a movie, and somehow I have the right to have the movie that I want to watch, and I want that company to make that movie. My answer to that is, if you're so driven to have a show or something that you like, then learn the skills you need and make it yourself.
Okay, now you're just talking crazy, man.
Otherwise, you either buy their product or you don't buy their product. But being upset that they made a product that you don't want is irrational, and to me, it's really annoying.
I'm with you 100%, but all those people who believe that you as a business owner do not have the right to refuse service to people are against you. And, and the courts have agreed with them.
Yeah, I do know that.
That's today's society. I'm in agreement with you that, like, grow up, do it yourself if it's not available. But
I agree. Like, again, that's why we're here. I'm just sick of and tired of. I want my own voice. No one else is voicing my concerns. I'm gonna do it. So, but the whole thing with this is, honestly, I don't care whether you make a movie out of a game or whatever, because usually these game movies aren't good anyways. But I just feel like it's kind of like, okay, so according to Sony, essentially, if they don't deem, what happens if they don't deem your game, movie quality? Does that mean you're not going to be able to make the game? What if the game is really fun?
From a studio perspective.
I'm just kind of looking, like say you make a really fun game, but it's not like one of these narrative games with deep story or whatever. It's just a fun game. Does that mean now it's not going to be made because it's not movie quality? And it can't be turned into a movie?
To back your funding.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to Sony might go, yeah, no, we've noticed that these games aren't successful. And so we're not going to fund this because it's not going to spin off well into a movie. And that's what I was saying, is like, you'll see more and more Squadron 42 type episodic games, and you won't see open sandboxes like Skyrim because there's no plot line that we can turn into a movie.
Which kind of sucks, because
a developer, they have the responsibility to find the best publisher for their company.
That's true.
Yeah.
So from that perspective,
I was referring to in-house stuff. Like, what if, because obviously Sony has a lot of developers under their umbrella already. Not all of them are making these types of games.
What was that game? A couple years ago, the other space game that everyone is not
Dangerous.
Not Elite Dangerous, the other one.
Eve?
The third one, the big one.
Eve Online?
Sorry, okay, so the fourth one then. Eve. I'll give you that.
Bethesda's Elusive
Starfield? It launched out and everyone went, what the F did you just drop on us? There's nothing here. And everyone ran away from it.
Oh, No Man's Sky.
It's popular.
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. Wasn't Sony responsible for that?
Yes,
release?
Sony was the one that made it.
You have to release now. We want this out.
So Sony was the one that was it later, almost like within 3 months or so of the game's release, Sony kind of backed the project and became its publisher, which then raised the price tag from $20 to $60 because it's now being published by a AAA publisher, and even though it was still an indie game.
Yeah.
And then we got piece of shit. Sure, they updated it over time.
They also forced the early release of it when it wasn't ready, and
we can be here for hours talking about these AAA publishers releasing games before they're ready.
But that's just
Anthem, Fallout 76, Battlefield 5, No Man's Sky.
in the games, but you're going to see that
Cyberpunk.
probably in the movie plot lines as well. You
Yeah.
know, like,
Oh
hey,
yeah,
we just
that
we
game
don't
would
really
not have
care
fallen.
about
There's
this
no
plot,
story.
We just need to get this movie out.
There's no story for that game. So yeah, you wouldn't have had a movie spin-off from that game.
But anywho,
So I don't think there's an argument for the in-house thing that you were talking about, because I mean that's Sony owns the company, so
No, that's
they
true. I'm
have the
just
right to decide what they're going to produce and what they're.
yeah. No, you're right about that. I'm just saying that it does mean that you're going to see a different take on the games. Like, okay, you're going to have these very linear, very controlled games compared to. I just think that it's going to.
That's true, but at the end of the day, you as a consumer can say, "Well, I don't want that, so I'm not going to buy it."
Yeah, and that's probably going to be the case anyways. I mean, hell, I don't have any PlayStation. I haven't gotten a PlayStation product since the PlayStation 2, so.
I mean, the other side of that argument is kind of what I was talking about, that people feel like they have the right to have a game that they want to play from that company, which is
unless they already paid, they paid for the game to be made, like what we're doing with Star Citizen. Yeah, why?
Yeah, but that's completely different. Star
my
Citizen
point.
is crowdfunded.
That's my point.
Anytime
Is that
you buy
unless
a
you're
product
paying
that's
for
not-
this game to be made, you're not. You know why? Like, there's no
You
argument.
can't compare Star Citizen and CIG to Sony, because they're completely different companies doing completely different things. I mean, they're making a game, but the way they're doing it is completely different.
I'm not comparing them. I'm saying
I
that
don't know. They both have an O in their name. I'm gonna go with that.
We figured it out, boys.
I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying that the difference. I'm pointing out the difference. Like if you have, I'm saying that if it's different when you're paying. You're crowdfunding the game. Yeah, you'd feel entitled because you are. You're the one paying for it. But for a game that's like just made by some random developer and publisher that you have no control over, why do you shouldn't feel any entitlement because you have no control over it. You're not the one that's like, oh, I created this company or something.
You also got to remember that we're dealing with a public who, what was the Last of Us big controversy? Like, they turned out that Laura Bailey was like, they're trying to stop her from getting other jobs because of what her character in the game did.
Yeah.
That's the mentality that you're dealing with here.
Guys,
So,
wait, really?
Lunacy.
I didn't know
Yeah.
about this. Wow.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I knew about the whole Abby thing and how it's like the whole game went politically woke and how they had a sex scene in the game, even though they'll censor other games that aren't made by Sony, aren't developed by Sony but only published by them.
No, we're dealing with people who consistently prove their mental capabilities.
You mean their incapabilities?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying that these are people who are going to be making business decisions in the future and running the country eventually. So I'll be glad when I've kicked the bucket and moved on.
I was going to say, or when Elon Musk gets his Martian colony up and running.
I'll go for free, man. I'll even pay him.
So basically, what you're saying is that the PlayStation 4 shutting off in 20 years is probably not going to be an issue.
Yes, I'm willing to join that club. Yes,
because the world will end.
I will write you a check right now and date it for 20 years from now. How's that?
So you can only cash it in then.
Do you promise?
I absolutely do on that. Yes.
Got it. So check for 2041.
Guaranteed. Yes, I'll even write that.
Guaranteed.
But yeah, we're dealing with people who don't have, people who are not capable of doing rational thought for themselves. And you know what? Hollywood's feeding the masses. That's all I can say.
Unfortunately.
The consequence to advanced technology is a reduction in emotional and mental maturity.
Also, in
I don't
a reduction.
get that. Do I?
No,
Are
I
you
would say
saying
more.
something bad
Well,
about
yes, true, but also more of a. It's a lack of thinking before acting. Because now you have the internet, you don't have to.
The more things that technology can do for you, the less you have to think and learn and do for yourself.
And it also helps, like say,
it effectively makes you a dumber, less intelligent person.
Yeah, and also with the internet, you go by some moniker. No one knows who you are. There's no consequence for just saying something to someone, because you're not saying it to their face where they can or anything like that. You're just saying it on the internet, and it's kind of like that lack of interpersonal interaction.
Can you imagine what people would do right now if they didn't have their cell phones and GPSs to navigate through the city they live in?
I mean, I know what I would do. I would be fine, because I learned to do it without a freaking phone.
You pull out your map and your protractor.
Right.
Well, now. A map?
I'm not speaking of you specifically, man.
Map?
Imagine
no, I know. I was joking, saying like, I know what I would do.
I mean, think about the society that we live in right now.
Oh, I constantly make the joke that
our society wouldn't be able to find their way across town.
Yeah, I constantly make the joke where, like, because I seen kids that are walking around the streets with like their phone in their face constantly. Like, they rely on it. It's almost like a part of them at this point.
So I mean, that's what Hollywood's geared towards. That's what Sony is geared towards. Those people. So,
what do you mean, you people?
Those you mean, you people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's them against us, and us against them.
Yes. And then on that note, I actually got to run, so I'll see.
All right.
How fast? Oh man, he was quick. He didn't even want to say goodbye. I see how it is.
Yeah. Well, moving on to some good news.
This should be quick, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Because we have. So I'm sure a lot of people probably knew this, but Discord was in talks with Microsoft. Microsoft was going to be acquiring them.
Oh no.
No, but don't worry. They ended the acquisition talks. Supposedly, it's no longer a thing. Discord has broken off talks to be acquired by Microsoft. So we can all thank the heavens that happened.
Please hold your Discord conversation while Discord updates.
Oh my god. No.
No, you cannot have a conversation at this time because Discord needs to update right now in the middle of your conversation.
Yep. Every week you'd have a fucking update.
Without your own choice of saying no.
They'll give you illusion. Do you want to be notified of the updates? Do you want to choose when to manually update or auto update? It doesn't matter because they'll just auto update anyways.
Yeah, I really
wouldn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I really don't understand why a successful company would want to be purchased by this huge conglomerate of a company.
Because
they're making plenty
F ton of money.
Because I imagine that they were probably going to pay them a crap ton. Let's see. Discord's valuation has soared over the past year. A funding round in July valued the company at $3.5 billion, a figure that had doubled to $7 billion. $7 billion when it announced another funding round in December.
So it's just a money grab from.
It was just a money grab,
or whoever controls the company.
Right.
If they're going to do it.
Yeah, but I mean the whole reason that they would want to sell would be so they could.
Well, no.
According to this report,
actually approached them. Like, Microsoft wanted to buy Discord, not Discord went to Microsoft.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
According to the report, which was from 2 weeks ago, April 20th, the two companies were working on such a deal last month that would have valued the chat service at $10 billion. So yeah, it's pretty much just a money grab. They just wanted to acquire it. So
the past year of the pandemic, just
oh yeah, because Discord was used for school stuff too.
Yeah, it really bothers me that larger companies are able to just go around and basically buy up everything under the sun.
But we're not a monopoly.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. You mean like Disney?
Yeah.
Hey,
Name
no
name
foul
a
language on this
franchise.
channel,
Name a
Mando.
franchise you saw you watched when it came out or whatever. Or just name a franchise that Disney doesn't own. That
It's
isn't
hard these
anything.
days.
That isn't DC.
That isn't decent? Is that what you said?
DC, like the comic book stuff, like Superman, Batman. Like, that
It
isn't
was
them.
funnier the way I thought it.
Yeah, well, that isn't decent. Let's see, because they now own they own Alien, Predator. I think they own Terminator 2 as well. I might be wrong about that one, but they own obviously all the Marvel stuff. They own Star Wars. They own you name it. Really, they have everything. All the major franchises.
Out for them, honestly, I would like to see their balance sheet to see if they're
Ooh,
still
Disney?
making money hand over fist. Yeah.
Oh no, I
No.
hear they're hurting really, really bad.
I've heard that, but then I've heard other things too, and honestly, I don't know. All I know is that they're definitely cooking their books.
Supposedly on the
SEC
theme
is
park side,
investigating them.
they basically have been losing money for the
Gee, I
past
wonder
year.
why.
And then on top of that, pretty much all their TV except for The Mandalorian has actually come out underperformance from what their expectations were. So they're the only reason why the whole Kathleen Kennedy thing is going on is because of how successful The Mandalorian has been, and that's given Favreau a leg to stand on to be like, hey, look, man, I'm making money. What are you doing? Because nobody, from my understanding, no other departments are making money. So.
Yeah, but I've heard cases where that's not the case. Like I've heard where it's like, okay, streaming all the Marvel stuff is still doing really well, so it's weird. Like I haven't really heard any consistent reports. Like a lot of people keep saying they're losing money, but at the same time, like they're losing money in how what's the grand scheme of things? They have they're losing what 10%, compared to the 100%. It's like that's. Like they're losing money on one thing, but they're probably they're raking it in from something else.
How much money do you think Disney Cruise Lines is making right now?
Exactly. Well,
and then
actually.
So take that. How much that's not making, but they have to pay for, right? Like to keep the ships up and keep people.
They keep them, running,
available.
So to speak.
So take all the money that say Marvel is making, keep Disney cruises afloat, and then tell me if they're making money.
Well, aren't the parks open now too? The parks are open, if I remember correctly. So
it depends on what state they're in. But I think they're open like half capacity or something like that. Last I heard.
Nonetheless, they're still making money. And look again. The reports are inconsistent, but at least from what I've heard.
I usually tend to be a skeptic. The majority that I'm hearing is that Disney is not doing well. And from the politics that seems to be getting aired out in public, that kind of feeds that seems to lend truth to the idea, because they wouldn't be having these arguments unless money was behind the decisions for, who needs to go where and fill what roles. Like you don't just out of the blue go, hey, let's have a dogfight about who's going to be in charge of shit. Like that doesn't happen unless somebody can go, hey, Joe just lost us $15 million because of his bad decisions. I need to
Okay, so this is why I keep hearing inconsistent reports, because they are losing money, but their stock is rising.
Well, stock is not an accurate reflection. Stock is just
I know. I'm not saying that that's the same thing. I'm just saying that's why I'm hearing inconsistent.
Yeah.
Because some people are more. But yeah,
we don't need to go down the stock market rabbit hole.
But according to a Barron's article here, Disney reported a loss of 39 cents per share in its fiscal 2020 fourth quarter, which corresponds to the calendar third quarter, or 20 cents per share when adjusted for one-time factors. Compares with a $2.61 per share loss in the previous quarter and a 58 58 cents profit in the.
So
Okay.
I think there's probably a lot of good people that work for Disney, just they're led by a few dumb.
Yeah, there's a separation between the worker bees and the management.
Yeah.
The management is making decisions that are not good for, you know.
Well, you also got to remember that Disney owns Fox, so if Fox is raking money in.
Anywho, I'm gonna pull a cam and tap out.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna end the episode here. All right, so we didn't cover the Red Skull thing with Jordan Peterson, but screw it, doesn't matter.
Plenty of other sources or ways to find out information.
Yeah, and probably people that I mean, not probably, guaranteed that they do it better than we do.
Yeah, I didn't actually read any articles. I snickered a little bit when I saw it because it's so it's so inaccurate.
But
I think it's funny that they were upset enough by him to do that.
It just, to me, it's kind of absurd. Like, okay, they're now, it's kind of like the whole, oh, well, you see the Nazis doing, so that makes you a Nazi if you do it type thing. Where it's like,
you know,
what are you smoking?
Else, they just gave Jordan Peterson a bunch
of
extra
this is like the best advertising they can possibly give him.
And if anybody is watching this and has never heard of Jordan Peterson, you need to check him out because he is an amazing individual.
He's like it's always like a therapist and like life coach type guy, right? He has really good advice. Like it's kind of like, treat yourself right. If you this way, if you treat yourself right, you can treat others right. That the typical kind of like don't slouch, make your bed, like that type of
he's
mentality.
all about hard work, honesty, and personal responsibility.
Right. And obviously that's what you should be doing.
Which is effectively swearing today, but I mean.
Right. Well, then again,
values
if you have your own opinion that differs from the stream, so to speak, right? The flowing river of opinions that are all hive-minded, like they're evil. So.
And I forgot the R word in there. Respect.
Respect. What happened to differing opinions and respecting others?
Not in our world.
Well, that's why we need to go to Mars. Besides, it's long overdue that we've established colonies around the solar system. But scientists have been trying to do it since the 60s, and now we're finally getting around to it in the 2020s. A little sad, don't you think? Yeah, I think that's going to end the stream. Everyone, thanks for watching. Want to help the channel, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, share it, all that fun stuff. You guys know the drill. Until next time, this has been Casting the Shadows.